Nicole.
Hey, Tys.
What's happening?
Not much.
That's very exciting. Well, we welcome everybody back to another episode of Nick, Tys and Videotape. Original Nick, OG Nick, has had to step away for an episode due to a baby emergency. But luckily, Nicole, in order to keep the name relevant, has stepped in at the last minute. Nicole, the Nick, Tys and Videotape HQ family, thank you for your service.
That's totally fine. I figured it would be easy because we're doing this in my place anyway.
This is it. We have been, like, secret backstage information. We have been recording at Nicole's house for a little while because she's happy to let us record at her house. And that way we don't have to pay for studio space. We can't record where there's a baby, and we can't record where there's basically a
Two
family
cats,
and two
a
dogs.
dog.
So we've managed okay here the last couple of weeks, and so now it's like we're just in your house anyway. Get on the fucking show.
Yeah.
So it's episode number 45, I believe.
Getting close to 50.
Getting close to 50.
Have you guys worked out what you're going to do yet?
No. So the 50th episode will land sometime around February, I think, because we're taking a little break over Christmas and New Year's. So it'll probably be early February, but we're pretty excited for whatever we end up doing. We've got some things on the table.
When's Valentine's Day?
Oh, it might be Valentine's Day. Well, that would be
Like
quite a
around.
special.
You do a romantic movie special.
Oh, wouldn't that be just lovely?
Because you guys have liked the romantic movies you've done so far.
Well, they've been a cause of good conversation, if nothing else. But today, there's not a lick of romance to be seen. Oh, maybe a little bit. But we're talking 1996. 96, I didn't check that.
I did
I'm
check
having
that.
a big
I wrote
guess.
down 1996.
1996's The Long Kiss Goodnight. The Rennie Harlan closet like streak of awesomeness during the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Directed Geena Davis, starring action-packed extravaganza, written by Shane Black.
Shane Black.
Everyone's favourite Christmas connoisseur, Shane Black. We're pretty excited to talk about this one.
Yes,
Nicole, you just smashed this out like 10 minutes ago, didn't you?
I do. I love this movie. I told Tyson a story before we started that...
Hey, no stories just yet.
Oh, sorry.
We'll
Shit.
hang on to those stories because we're going to talk something else shortly. What are we going to talk, Nick?
Trailers.
That's it.
Everybody's talking
Trailers. Okay. So we need to smash out some trailers.
Okay.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Yeah, go first.
So I watched Thoroughbreds. Thoroughbreds.
Do you want to try that one again?
Thoroughbreds.
Yeah.
It's such a tough word.
It is actually a tough word to say. Thoroughbreds.
So this I read the little IMDb bit on this, and I was just like, this seems lame. But I started to watch it just because IMDb auto plays.
Oh, does it?
On my phone it does. I don't know how
turn that shit off.
I don't know how
That's
to turn
awful.
it off. It's really annoying. So when I was watching this, what I could think about is sort of like this is what happens when you put a potential sociopath into a friendship with someone who might be getting emotionally abused by her family, and all the antics that ensue from that.
Antics indeed ensue.
Or another way I thought of it, it kind of reminded me of if The Edge of 17 had a murder plot.
Yeah, right.
So it's got that kind of...
Well, it's funny because you were actually in my house when we watched a movie last year concerning a sociopath as well.
Yes.
You're racking your brain a
Am
little
I
bit.
a serial killer?
I am not a serial killer. Yeah. So you got it the opposite way around. It would have changed the plot entirely. But yeah, so that's kind of funny. Because as I started watching this, that's what immediately came into my head. It was like, imagine I am not a serial killer if it was kind of an indie comedy.
Yeah. It's like
which that
dark
movie
and
is
witty.
not at all.
No.
That movie is the furthest thing from a comedy, I would say. I did not laugh much.
Yeah. It was a good movie.
We did
anyway.
like that movie.
Yeah.
We did like that movie quite a bit. But yeah, I didn't know anything about this film before you mentioned that you saw the trailer. I breezed past the trailer looking through things on YouTube. Because
You want to know why? Because there's about 5 million young teen adult, like sort of not really romantic but offbeat trailers that have come out in the last couple of weeks.
And it's such a generic indie drama name.
Yes. And the little synopsis is kind of just like meh. It doesn't do it justice at all. It says something, I think, like two friends were apart and they've been brought back together.
Yeah, they rekindle their unlikely friendship after growing apart. That's not this film by any stretch of the imagination. It seems to be quite a dark, very, very black comedy dealing with, the idea of a sociopath and someone perhaps a little bit too in touch with their emotions plotting to murder. They're not quite abusive, but emotionally kind of
You know what?
punishing father.
Did you really dislike him when you watched this trailer?
I disliked him until his reaction to my mum's in chemo. I thought that was quite a really very human reaction.
Because I was just going to say
The awkward gulp swallow
but
kind of thing.
that's it. They do two things in this trailer that I think really like hit me. And it's they made the noises that people make that you don't really like to hear, like that really, really irritate me, that make me want to kill someone.
He made a noise.
Like you could hear him swallow. When he gulped, and then when they had a dinner table scene, and you could hear him swallowing his drink and food really loudly, and it was driving me crazy.
That'll do it.
Because they have really intense music in this trailer, and then in those two bits, there's nothing. So all you can hear is his bodily functions.
Yeah, well, maybe this is. I would assume that's part of the setup. They're trying to make him as unlikable as possible to the girl that is a sociopath, because these are the things that she would be noticing more than anything, I would imagine, is the tics, the human tics that she just wants to remove from existence.
And the thing that made me very happy that I watched this is a Anton Yelchin final, not his final role, but one of his final roles.
It is. Poor old Anton Yelchin,
which broke my heart when I started watching it.
And look, it is one of the more tragic. I mean, they're all tragic. It sucks. Like it's not fair. Like trying to single out anything over one person's death over another. But he's kind of.
It was so shit.
He's felt really, really shit because it was just a very
freak accident, and the kind of thing that could have just happened to anybody at any time. Like I get it. I'm not trying to take away anything from, mental illness or anything like that, far from it. But you hear about some of these other ones that, had problems with drug addiction and alcohol addiction and all this kind of stuff. And you think, man, they had a really troubled life. And, unfortunately, they lost that battle. Yeah.
And that,
that's really, it's a different sad.
It is. That's a really profound kind of sadness where it's like, man, you did it, you tried, but fuck, man, got the better of you. Whereas this was just like a guy who was just
his handbrake, and it was a recall as well. Like it was something wrong with the car that they found out was wrong, and it rolled back and it hit him, and he got trapped, and it's just horrific.
It is. It's absolutely horrific, and it's just awful because. It could happen to any. It seems so normal.
Yeah,
that's kind of what
it seems so normal that you kind of just like that doesn't happen to movie
stars.
Yeah,
exactly.
And he was becoming a movie star.
Well, I've always been a huge fan of his. Ever since I think we talked about this once with Nick before. But really, ever since he played Kyle Reese in Terminator Salvation, and was probably the best thing in that film. I remember being like, "Who's that kid? He was great." Which was the same year he did the first Star Trek, believe it or not. And
I have a delightful little film that he's in with Robert Downey Jr. called Charlie Bartlett as
I've
well.
heard that's a good film.
It's very entertaining.
I haven't seen any of his kid stuff. I went back since then. I've seen Alpha Dog, which I actually quite enjoyed as well. And then, there's a couple of other things that I just think he's awesome. But he had quite a few films in the can before his tragic accident, because I've just recently I saw the trailer for this Porto thing, which is like a really kind of looks like a very grown up adult romantic drama. And now this, and he's got Rememory, which is this weird kind of Google original thing with Peter Dinklage in it. Something called We Don't Belong Here. He's going to be busy, in posthumously.
But yeah, so he's popped up in this in a very entertaining way.
Yeah, I like the role that he's doing.
Look, and I have to be honest. With the prices of movie tickets these days, I'm very unlikely to see this in the cinema.
This won't get a cinema release in Australia,
but I will definitely watch it.
Yeah. This will be the kind of thing that
it might pop up at the Westgarth or something like that.
Yeah, the Westgarth or even the Nova the Como, something really low key. I'm really liking Anna Taylor-Joy at the moment as well. She's she was from Split.
Oh yeah,
and she's from The Vitch. The Vivavitch.
Is she? So which one is she? Is she one of the girls?
She's the main one, the one with...
the sociopath?
No, sorry, the emotional one.
The emotional one.
Yeah, and she's also going to be in that new Mutants movie, which is... excuse you.
Sorry.
Where's your microphone etiquette? Etiquette? That's the word. Etiquette.
That was a sneaky cough. It just kind of...
I love the sneaky ones. Yeah, so I like her a lot. Did you see Split?
It's a horror movie.
No.
Yes.
Okay. It kind of is,
I read the synopsis.
You read the IMDb synopsis?
No, I read the
Wikipedia one. That's
synopsis.
Even worse.
And I'm very excited for I'm not going to say the spoiler. When I read the spoiler, my brain nearly exploded, and I will watch that movie if that happens.
I think you'll be fine in Split.
Because the movie, I guess the other movie, I don't want to... talking around the spoiler is incredible, but the original movie is one of my favourites.
Yeah. And
like
I have
love
mentioned
that
I
movie.
knew they were somehow connected, but I didn't know how. I just was kind of like, I think there's a connection. But regardless, it's... Have you seen Silence of the Lambs?
Yes.
It is nowhere near as scary as that. It has similar scenes. You know the scene at the end where it's in darkness and Buffalo Bill's wearing the
Yeah.
So that is the most tense moments of this film. Wish they were that moment.
Ah, fair enough.
So,
okay. I might give it a go.
Yeah.
It's one of those things though, because the scary movies I have seen, I've seen that many times that you forget why they were scary in the first place.
There's I don't even think there's jump scares in it. There might be one or two. And it's generally just watching James McAvoy be really kind of incredible. And he blew me away a little bit with, like, in a way that it was kind of like, if anyone else was doing this, I reckon it would be just so awful. He's perfectly on the right side of trash. Like, it's just great. We got sidetracked. What was that movie called again?
Thoroughbreds.
First time writer director by the looks of it as well.
Yes, Corey Finley. It definitely said first time director, but it appears that he has written things before. But
has he written
Wikipedia
things?
has no information on that. They just didn't. They only said first time director. I figured they'd throw first time writer in there if that was the case.
Oh no, it looks like he's got some other things in development, but I wonder where he came from. Don't you? You wonder. This is what I kind of think when I see someone on IMDb that has literally no information. I'm like, how did you get to make a movie?
Especially because this
with,
movie
like, famous people in it.
doesn't look cheap either.
No.
It's beautifully, like, it looks...
It does. It looks pretty,
immaculately shot almost. And the music was amazing. And I think people should watch this. Don't skip over this trailer because it looks like something that would not interest you.
It's shot by a cinematographer that I have seen a few films of who is reasonably effective. Yeah, okay. It's a bit of hit and miss. But he's got some experience, so that's probably why it looks kind of decent. I'd say the best film he's shot would be The Bad Batch.
That's a Netflix one?
Yeah, that definitely looks like something interesting.
Oh,
he also shot Cooties, which I did not like at all. But that was not his fault.
So what trailer did you watch?
Very good. I'm moving on to my trailer. Well, secret biblical film just came out of nowhere. I knew nothing about this movie.
No.
Is it just called Mary Magdalene?
Yes.
And that title can fuck right off, I reckon, because
it's like calling a movie Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's the Mary Riley disease. It's like, just because you're telling this story from the other character's perspective, surely you could have come up with a more creative title than their name.
The Other Disciple.
Oh,
Look at you. That's really shit as well.
It's better though, because she's not technically one of the 12 disciples, is she? So it could be the 13th disciple.
It depends on whether or not they're going full Da Vinci Code, or if they're just going.
What do you mean full Da Vinci Code?
Have you seen the Da Vinci Code?
Yeah,
that's all about Mary Magdalene being like the one who wrote the Bible. Disciple number one and everything.
Yeah, but okay, I get you.
And like, I
thought you meant like the mystery elements to it, and I was like, what do you mean?
No. Full Da Vinci Code is that's their interpretation of.
I get you. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, that's suddenly the greatest movie of all time.
Just Tom Hanks pops
Jesus.
up.
No, I want Jesus and Mary Magdalene like trying to track down like secrets on like scrolls and shit. It would be amazing. Yeah.
Especially because Jesus.
Jesus is played by Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh, surprise Joaquin.
I'm like, that guy, do you reckon someone called him up and say, hey, Joaquin, do you want to play Jesus? And he was like, say no more. I'm there. I am so there. He seems like the kind of guy that it's like, well, that's the ultimate acting challenge.
Yeah.
Yes, I would like to play Jesus.
And
who's going to be Mary? Yes.
Yeah.
As if you're not going to be Mary for Rooney Mara. Is it Rooney or Kate? It's
Rooney. Yeah.
She's awesome.
And there's one of my other favourite actors has popped up in this, and I can't pronounce his name.
No.
12 Years a Slave?
Yeah.
That guy.
Chiwetel Ejiofor or something like that.
Well done.
Yeah, it's. I'm not right. I'm missing a key element to it. But
that guy who's amazing.
Yeah, who I first saw in Serenity as the operative, and I was like, that guy is terrifying. Who is that guy? That was the first thing I ever saw him in, and then since then I've been the biggest fan. He popped up in another random thing that I really liked. He
pops up in movies the way that someone in the Long Kiss Goodnight, who I'm going to talk about later, pops up, and I really appreciate it every time he's in a movie.
If it's the same person I'm going to talk about in that regard as well.
Oh, maybe.
If there's a random movie called Red Belt, if anyone cares, written by and directed by David Mamet that stars Chiwetel. Chiwetel.
Just don't try.
Yeah, and it's surprisingly kind of really interesting. It's like a fighting movie, which is what you don't expect from David Mamet. But anyway, so yeah, we've got this Mary Magdalene story. It looks like a pretty kind of... Doesn't look like they're messing around with the mythology too much. The lore.
I mean, if you know the stories are that she was around.
Yes.
It's just depending on who you talk to, you get different information about how much she was involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was either like...
the prostitute that hung around.
Yeah, and he kind of like saved her soul simply by association.
Yeah.
Or
she was a disciple that was involved in his teaching and things like that.
And like they were full together.
Yeah.
Is the other thing as well.
And look, we're never going to know. It was many, many, many years ago.
We don't even know if they were really people.
And Jesus is white again, so...
Yeah. Well, Joaquin. I mean, he's got a bit of an air of something about him. Do you know, it should be The Rock, because you don't know who where The Rock's from. The Rock should play Jesus.
Can you imagine? That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But it looks like, I just glanced over this before, and jokes aside, it looks really interesting.
I love biblical epics.
I loved...
Good ones. I'm not interested in watching shit ones, though.
Well, I think the only last one I've watched was The Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, I love The Passion of the Christ.
Which I thought was fantastic.
I know it's kind of... I know that like a lot of people do not enjoy that film, and I 100% understand that.
You know what? I
love it.
I enjoyed The Passion of the Christ the same way I enjoyed Apocalypto.
Yeah, I thought Apocalypto was trash, but that's...
I can't explain it. It's just sort of like it's not a story I'm really interested in, but watching it unfold was fascinating.
Yeah, I agree. There was just some moments in it that I liked, that he kind of turned it into like, even though he would probably argue this fact and not perhaps like this element to it, I think Mel Gibson turned it into like a fantasy movie. Yeah. It's like an age-old fantasy tale with demons and like fucking Satan is like a weird man baby thing in this movie.
It's scary.
It's terrifying, and I loved it. And I fucking loved it.
Also, I'm a big fan, especially in movies that have... I mean, you wouldn't call The Passion of the Christ an action movie, but when movies show... when they're not scared to show what true violence is, when you're talking about whipping someone, like that, the whole all of that, like it's not beating around the bush. It's like when you hit someone with some thorns and nail them to a cross. It's not pretty. No, it's they're gonna get real fucked up. It's not gonna be like a couple little whip lines on the back. And it looks like they do that in this one as well. And it's got the same. It's not dark, but it's like grade. This movie, the way it looks. They've desaturated it a little bit. That's the word. That's the technical word. I feel like they're going for a bit more realism. Directed by the guy that directed Lion, which I didn't see. Because I have seen that. Last year I had it was my worst Oscars showing of all time. I'm still like 6 movies behind last year's Oscars. And so, what was his name? Gareth. Why do I feel like his name's Gareth? I have no idea. This is your trailer. I wrote down my director. No, that's true. I do little to no research. What's his name? It's not Gareth at all. I bet you it's not. Garth! I was so close! Garth Davis. And that movie kind of got a whole heap of almost unexpected kind of love. It kind of popped up out of nowhere and everyone, oh, holy shit, this movie's great. And wait, Mary Magdalene or Lion? No, Lion. Lion it's delightful. Well, I look forward to watching it. I'll probably start with Mary Magdalene, and then if I really like it, I might go backwards and then watch Lion. It's got Nicole Kidman with the right hair. Oh, see, I thought Chiwetel was playing Judas. He's playing Peter. No, you see, that makes sense because he's very in charge, I guess. Like, in terms of the disciples, you would say that Peter was the one that was not so much the second to Jesus, but the one that was sort of like in charge of the admin, maybe. The treasurer of the committee that was the one that did the organising. I don't know. Social. I'm stretching back to like my high school, primary school church days, trying to pull out the dregs. I just know Peter was the one that denied. So that's clearly going to happen. You know that's going to be in there. But because he was the one that was baptized by Jesus. So Peter was doing that's John the Baptist. That makes sense because that's his fucking name. That's not what God. I used to be really good at this shit.
I want a subject award in this fucking shit
It's been
in
a
high
long
school.
time since RE class.
It's been a long time since RE class. Judas is played by a guy called Tahir Rahim, who looks to be...
I do like they have mixed up
A French
the
actor.
disciples a little bit. They all look like they've come from all over the place, which I think is kind of more true to the story in the sense that he's supposed to be wandering around collecting people.
It's a good point. I just want to see... I mean, Joaquin's rocking the glorious beard and the long hair.
That's fantastic.
I'm just pumped to see him like Jesus up the joint. Like,
Yeah.
I just wonder if he's gonna try and be all like...
I'm trying to think of the last movie that I've seen him in, and it's nothing like Jesus.
I think Her might have been the last movie I saw him in. Yeah, because I didn't see Inherent Vice.
No, I haven't seen him in anything for a while because I haven't really been interested in any of his most recent stuff.
And I can't bother watching a bad Woody Allen movie, so... Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, I wonder if he's going to try and do, like, the legit actor thing and make him, like, this troubled, tortured thing, or if he's just going to be that distant kind of impenetrable kind of lightness.
So I'm getting, from what you can see in the trailer, you get kind of 50-50. You get a little bit like of Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator intensity, and then also the Joaquin that refused to speak to anyone for a year. Like, I see both.
I love that guy. That guy's my favorite. The guy that just had us all over. Had a big fucking secret over all of us for a year. 2 years.
Yeah. Anyway,
Bless his
it
heart.
looked interesting.
It did look interesting. I am excited.
Might see, if it's a long movie, I'll probably see that in the cinema.
Oh, I wonder if it has a runtime yet. Let's have a squizzo. No, it has no runtime yet.
Got to get my $18 worth.
I feel like you'll get your $18 worth out of a biblical epic starring Joaquin Phoenix. I feel like that's $18 well spent. Well, let's move on.
Yes.
Let's do some. What did you watch this week?
Boom, boom.
Good. What did you watch this week, Nicole?
So I after listening to you guys talk about the box sets from JB,
I'm very excited for those.
For the Marvel universe.
P.S. Anyone? Yeah, Christmas presents ahoy! I'll take either one of those happily.
So I was waiting as well, and I held out for so long that
I held out massively.
the only DVD I bought was Winter Soldier. I bought that fairly quickly after it came out.
The DVD?
On DVD because I wanted it very quickly.
On DVD?
Yes, because I only had a DVD player for a long time. You
Sure.
know that I only just got my Blu-ray player. It's fine.
Yes. Your family will come around eventually and will embrace Blu-ray as the superior format. For some reason, they believe DVD is superior.
I know, and well, they have a Blu-ray player and it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
No.
It doesn't work.
Anyway, so I bought the Iron Mans, I bought the Captains, and I just this weekend bought the Avengers, and I've watched them both, and I thoroughly enjoyed them both again, but in reverse order. So when I saw the Avengers the first time, it was the best movie ever made, and when
Yes.
I saw Avengers: Age of Ultron, it was a good movie.
Well, we saw this together, apparently.
Yes.
You were informing me before.
Yes, in a beautiful theatre with people who wouldn't shut up.
Yes, we're at the lovely Rivoli Theatre, which is just one of the all-time great movie theatres. And yeah, we were stuck in... We were in the good cinema too. We're in Cinema 3. The good cinema... Is it Cinema 3? No, that's what the... might
The
be.
big one.
Yeah, the big one. Cinema 3 was the good cinema at Baldwin Cinema where I used to work. That's how I remember Cinema 3 being a good cinema. Were you going to continue that story?
Yeah, sorry, I was fiddling with my headphones. Yes, but now that I've watched them again recently, Age of Ultron is definitely the better one as far as I'm concerned.
That is a controversial statement.
And I say that only because I watched the Avengers and I loved it, but I was just like, I need you guys to be friends already. I'm like Tony and Cap, they just fight. Like in the way that they banter, and I want the banter. I don't want the fighting. I want the Hulk and Black Widow to be in love with each other because that's just beautiful.
So you might be one of the only people that enjoy that relationship. I'm not against it, but I wouldn't say I'm for it either.
I really like it because I think it's evolved from a natural chemistry, and I think
that's true.
Everyone would have looked at Black Widow and Captain and thought that they would have tried to put that relationship in.
No, but they never did.
But they had the same sort of chemistry, but it was much more of a friendship camaraderie rather than like an actual chemistry. Whereas for some reason that just happened when the two of them were on screen together.
Yeah, true.
And I think it's delightful.
I like the because they still do bicker in or fight in Age of Ultron. There
Yeah.
are arguments between them, but they feel much more like grown-up arguments.
Yes.
They're not like in that first one. You are right. They are. It's the petty kind of like.
It's just
who's-
one-upmanship.
Yeah, I'm tougher than you. You're tougher than me. Whereas in
Yeah.
Age of Ultron, they're real kind of concerns and real kind of clashes of personality that can't just be solved by a handshake and hey, it's all good now.
And everyone's
You're
so,
okay,
yeah.
buddy.
And they're also much more settled, I guess, in their abilities.
Yeah.
Look, Loki is always going to top Ultron in terms of the villain, but that doesn't make Ultron a bad villain either. And I also love the Maximoffs when I watch it again.
They grow on me a lot.
Yeah, in terms of bringing in new characters and making them stick, they did a great job with them.
Yeah.
And Andy Serkis. Surprise Andy Serkis.
Yeah, I like
he
him a lot
was
in that
fantastic as well.
I'm glad we're going to see more of him in Black Panther.
I just love whenever he pops up in anything, even if it is as a monkey.
What was he as a monkey?
Sorry, not as a monkey, as an ape.
Oh, yeah. He does the best ape. I was like, monkey? What monkey? And
Alright,
I mean,
not a
only
monkey.
his most famous role of the last decade.
Multiple apes. But yeah, so I've been binging on Marvel. The trailer came out for Infinity, and I wanted to see the team together. I've been watching
That's a good
Captain.
call.
Yeah, I've been watching Captain America: Civil War many times over because it's available on Netflix.
Yeah.
But I just hate
It's
it
such a
because
good-
it doesn't have Hulk and it doesn't have Thor, and I wanted to see them, which is why I bought the Avengers DVD.
Well, it's not an
Blu-rays.
Avengers movie. It's a Captain America movie.
I know, but it has everyone
It
else.
essentially is an Avengers movie. Special shout out to a friend of the podcast, Emily Rose, who brought something to our attention today that if you start in the first week of January
Yes,
and
I
watch
saw that.
the chronological order of the Marvel films and watch one a week, it will take you up to the release of Infinity War, which sounds like a really good time.
Yes, and
I think I will be doing that.
I don't think I could limit myself to one a week. I think I'd just watch them all in a week.
No, because I like the idea of only... Because I think trying to smash them out in like the week prior will just be a bit of an exhausting endeavor and may taint the Infinity War
Yes.
viewing experience.
Yes.
I'm up for this. I think this is great because I can find one movie watching window a week that I can dedicate to an Avenger to Marvel, and I think that'll work really nicely.
Yeah, so it was just nice. It was like putting on my pajamas, like just putting these movies on. They're so comfortable and they're just delightful to watch.
They are my choice of movies on hangover days.
No, I tend to pick really, really obscure things that you need to concentrate. I don't know why. The last time I was severely hungover, I watched Sicario.
Yeah,
That's
not a hangover movie.
It was a great movie, but
I'm sure it's a good movie. It's not a hangover movie.
the only other thing I wanted to say was, did you guys notice in the Infinity trailer that
Maybe.
Winter Soldier has his arm back?
He does have his arm back.
I was so excited when I saw that.
Yeah, I guess
I was very
assuming
distressed because
that
he was armless.
he was armless, but his arm was his last remaining remnants of his Winter Soldier history. So so it had to go.
Yes.
I mean, they could have just painted over the Red Star, but it's symbolic of him leaving behind his Winter Soldierness that he has a new arm now,
Even though it's exactly the same as the old one.
just with no Red Star.
That's just because I saw there was
But it
a
might
still.
be like it might be like different material.
I did notice that they tried to hide it, but there's a still for when they're all there's one still where they're all running forwards at the same time, and he's got a lovely metal arm, and I was like, thank God. Bucky
Well, it has
needs,
to be.
he
It has to
needs
be metal. That's
Yeah.
his thing.
That's his thing. Yeah.
Although he has like super strength.
He's
now
also
as well.
he's a Captain America super soldier.
Yeah.
I forget that.
Yeah.
So that was what I watched this week.
Oh, nice. It's always
been
fun.
Delightful.
Yeah, that's I don't know if I can go all the way and say that I like Ultron more than the first Avengers.
You need to watch them close together.
But maybe it's just like one of those things where my opinion will just constantly evolve, and because there's no doubt I will continue to watch those movies for the next however many years. And maybe it's just like, on this viewing, I liked this one more. And on this viewing, I liked this one more.
The one thing that really kills me, I guess, in terms of the two of them is that you only have, and I've forgotten his character name, and it's killing me. In the first Avengers movie, the one that gets killed by Loki, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. What is his, oh my God. Coulson, that's it. Yes. He's a fantastic character. And I
Correct.
really liked seeing him when I watched the Avengers, and it made me miss him more in all of the other ones.
And
But that's going to start happening. We have to start losing some of these characters.
we have
eventually.
to start.
They can't just keep making
We can't.
bigger
We
movies.
can't. It needs to start happening. There needs to be real stakes in this universe, and I feel like it's going to happen.
Yes.
It's going to happen real soon. All right, well, let's move on, shall we?
Yes.
My...
Wait, what did you watch?
Yeah,
Is
that's
that what
I
we're
mean.
moving
We'll
on
move
to?
on to my viewing for the week. I watched a few things this week, and I won't talk too extensively about any of them, because one of them was good and two of them were... Okay, so one was pretty great. One was right smack in the middle of average, and one was pretty terrible. So why don't we start with the smack bang in the middle of average? And that was Chappie. I watched Chappie.
Oh, yes.
Which,
yes.
Which I'd kind of stayed away from because I'd heard very negative things about it, and that makes me sad.
Because I do love that director.
Yeah, I love District 9 so much, and I'm a huge defender of Elysium, despite it not being
I've recently
critically very widely kind of acknowledged as equal to District 9, which I think is unfair. Like, how can anything be equal to that? I think that was kind of lightning in a bottle situation. But I still like Elysium quite a lot.
Yes.
Chappie's a bit of a mess.
I know, and it kills me because I love the director and I love... name is eluding me at the moment. Charlotte Copley. And I love that. I've loved all of their pairings, and I watched Chappie, and I really tried hard to enjoy it.
Me too.
I did not enjoy it, but it wasn't what I expected.
No, I think there's a lot to like in it. I think there's a lot of it's super ambitious,
Yes.
which I really dug, and I was like, he's really going for it. He's making big statements, and he's trying to do things.
I also love that he's setting movies in his world, like in the slums of these countries where people really disregard what's going on, especially in Hollywood movie standards.
Yeah,
you don't
100%.
get stories from their perspective, and that's what I appreciate, and I love seeing that. But this movie was just a little bit boring.
Yeah, look, and he has an uncanny ability to make you care about characters that you didn't think you would. It's exactly the same with District 9.
Yes.
The way we come to love the
Copley.
Not just him, Vickers, but the prawn.
Yes, because they're disgusting to start with.
Yeah, because they're filmed in this disgusting way, but we come to really have this huge amount of empathy for... he has a real name, and I don't want to keep calling him a prawn because it's like the racist nickname for him. Stand by. I'm going to look it up. It's making me mad that I can't think of his name.
And did you know that most of District 9 was ad-libbed? There was no script.
Yeah.
It was just a story.
And look, that's
what fascinates me when I watch it.
That's so good.
Just the skill of being able to direct a story in the way that you want it to go, and to be able to act a part like that and make something that's so amazing.
That's it. And you... he obviously led them in the direction he wanted them to lead, but that's also clever casting because it means that you're able to trust these people with summaries and kind of like, this is where I need you to be at the end of this film. Is it Thomas? Was Thomas the one, or is Thomas somebody else?
No, they did. Yeah, it was a generic name.
It was a generic name. I don't think it's Thomas. People are yelling at me through the thing, screaming the name at me. Hang on, I'm going to keep... This is thrilling stuff.
Quality podcast right now.
Quality. Prawn in District 9.
Keep trying to talk about his other movies, but I saw Chappie such a long time ago, I can't really remember much about it, except it wasn't what I expected. But I have watched Elysium within the last month, and it was great. I actually put it on as background noise while I was cleaning my house. The house didn't get cleaned. I sat down on the couch and I watched.
That's exactly what I would do. I would sit down and say, nope. I'm going to watch this instead. I would say the biggest problem for me in it is Ninja, the Diane Wood guy. So
I can't remember, but I knew that some of those characters were very annoying.
Ninja's the main one of the guys in the slums that is trying to make him do the heist so that he can pay off a drug dealer or something. I don't know. It was all like, it's kind of...
a little bit all over the place.
It was. I'm getting closer. Here we go. I'm going to find it. Blah, blah, blah. Da, 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 da. Christopher.
Yes, it is Christopher. That's right. And his little kid.
And the kid. It's cute. Anyway, so he's got this relationship with Diane Wood or whatever.
Yes.
Which is a South African rave dance duo who do some really fucked up stuff. Like, some of their film clips are just out of control bonkers, right? So that's Ninja, the guy with the awful mullet.
Yep.
And
I don't remember any of the names. I've
She
not
has
seen this movie in years.
She has. It's like, God damn. Back to the thing.
This is why I pick movies like the Avengers, where I can just refer to people not as their character names, but say Black Widow.
It's a good point.
Thor.
It's a good point. Mum. She played Mum, the one called Mum. Yolandi. Hang on. I'm going to get it. It's here. Where is it? Yolandi. Oh, for fuck's sake. All right. So, and he's really good friends with them, and he wanted to cast them. Apparently, he wanted to cast Ninja in the Matt Damon role in Elysium. And I'm like,
glad that he didn't.
No, don't want to watch that movie anymore.
No.
It must have been the Charlotte Copley role. He couldn't have wanted him for the Matt Damon role. He couldn't have.
He wouldn't have done like Charlotte Copley's. I love watching him in movies because I've never seen someone jump between different characters. Like, I love the A-Team, mostly because of his character.
Sure.
I love watching the A-Team movie purely to watch Charlotte Copley's performance because I think he's fantastic. And then to see him in District 9 and then the A-Team.
Terrifying. Oh, no, District 9 where he's just a bumbling idiot.
And then Elysium where he's actually quite terrifying.
Literally terrifying, yeah.
And the A-Team where he's just hilariously adorable. I find him endlessly fascinating.
Oh, maybe it was the Matt Damon role, but I couldn't imagine it would be it would be awful. Anyway, so they're not actors, and they're also very extreme personalities, and I find it really strange that they perform in this movie as their real names. So he's actually named Ninja, and she is Yolandi. That's their real name, like their real names. That's their Diane Wood names.
Yeah.
Right. So, and they wear T-shirts with their band name on it.
See, this all went over my head because I had no idea.
Sure, and so. It's breaking my mind a little bit because I'm kind of like, hang on.
Is it real world?
So are they this electronic dance duo, or do they exist in their world and they're just big fans, or like? And it should have been something that I could have just gone, oh, well, whatever, it doesn't matter. But for some reason, I got so hung up on it that I couldn't get past it. And also, it doesn't help that he's not a very good actor. She actually was surprisingly good. I thought
I liked all the stuff between Chappie and her, and also Chappie and the guy who built him.
Yes.
So all of the
maker,
stuff.
Yeah.
This is really going back through my memory. I liked all of that stuff, and I really was irritated anytime someone else was involved in their dynamic.
I actually even also liked the other gangster guy, the American one. Did they call him America? They called him America, or like South Dakota or some shit. Oh yeah. San Francisco or something. They called him a place in America, maybe. And I actually thought they had an interesting relationship too, but I just couldn't get past Ninja. And the problem is as the movie was going on, I was like waiting for Ninja to die, basically. Because I'm like, well, he's going to die horribly. And as the movie went on, and it became kind of apparent that he was maybe going to be the hero this movie.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, I'm not on board for this at all.
Because he was not someone that you could get on board with, actually.
It was not he did not have the redeeming arc the way Vickers did in District 9.
No, he didn't have... It wasn't even that. He was just annoying.
He was annoying, and he was a horrible person, and he was awful to Chappie, and one brave act doesn't nullify all that douchery that he did, especially when the relationship with Yolandi and Chappie was actually quite sweet and felt really kind of truthful.
Yes.
There was for a movie about a robot that develops sentient thought, it should be so much more like touching. There was one moment in it where I was legitimately felt like I was connecting, and that was when they replace his arm after he has a run-in with Hugh Jackman randomly in this film with a glorious mullet that he's rocking.
Is he trying? Oh, I don't want to say anything because it's been such a long time.
Hugh Jackman has he works for the same company that produces the Chappies.
And he's trying to find this Chappie and destroy it.
He's basically trying to discredit the Chappie models.
Oh yeah,
so that he can
get his contracts back.
His Ed 209 from fucking RoboCop looking motherfucker thing on the streets. So Hugh Jackman puts in a really interesting performance. He's very strange. I actually really liked him. It's the first time I've really ever seen Hugh Jackman be very unflattering, or make himself very unflattering. Not in a physical way because he's a very good looking man, but just as a person, he played such an insecure, very kind of like icky character, and I really dug it. Yeah, but otherwise, it's a big missed opportunity, this film. I thought the action scene at the end is bonkers, though. Like, it goes out of control. It was so great. It needed more kind of... It either needed to be more bonkers or less bonkers. I don't think it was enough of either. Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm good. You keep talking. I'm feeling...
You're adjusting your headphones.
I'm trying to get the sound through both. Back. Yeah, I'm back.
Just don't move. You can't move.
I can't move.
You can't ever move. Yeah, so that was District... No, it wasn't District 9. It was Chappie. Yeah, ultimately, like...
It's just average.
Yeah, I don't want to say I didn't enjoy it because I think there was enough in it to get behind.
There was nothing in that movie that's going to stop me from watching the next movie with the two of them.
No, and I think that's the problem, is a lot of people have written him off now as being... he was a one-hit wonder.
What's his name?
I think he's made
Blomkamp?
one masterpiece. Neil Blomkamp, yeah. He's made one masterpiece, one good movie, and one missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I think that is still reason to be excited about whatever else he does.
Yeah. And like I said, I'll watch anything Charlotte Copley's in.
True. Good point. Next.
What was the bad one?
The bad one is I watched the final chapter of Resident Evil.
Oh my God.
Called Resident Evil, the final chapter, funnily enough.
Oh my God.
And this, to me, would make an excellent double feature with another recent movie that I watched that I also thought was horseshit, and that was the newest Underworld Blood Wars. These are such an interesting curiosity to me that these films, like... Is anyone still watching them?
Like at the cinema?
No, like surely not. Surely nobody's going to the cinema getting excited to see the 6th Resident Evil film. I don't understand. Anyway, it was horseshit.
Yes.
It was.
They tried to make it the first one.
So you've seen it?
I have seen.
See, this is what I mean.
And it's only coming back to me now because I've seen all of them, which is remarkable because the first one is terrifying.
Sure.
It's terrifying. Shush.
Okay.
The first time you watch it is terrifying. It's a horror movie.
It's got that bit where it cuts people up. I like that.
Yeah, the laser
hallway, which is like a thing now for the franchise. It's like, oh, remember we did the laser hallway? Well, guess what?
But that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to bring this one back. Like, they wanted to bring them back into the original place with all the original things that made that first movie so interesting. No,
it didn't make the movie more interesting. I don't know. I just don't understand how this film series is still going. I would say it's slightly better than Underworld Blood Wars, if only because I could actually see sometimes what was going on, but only just because this is the worst edited movie I've ever seen in my life. I said that about Underworld Blood Wars, I think, but this is actually the worst edited movie I've ever seen in my life. It is gibberish what is going on in that camera. They have somehow made... Like, there are moments where all she's doing is, like, walking from one spot to another that has, like, 18 cuts in it, and they're all like, boom, 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 step, eyeballs.
You know why? It's because it's like, is she going to die here? Is she going to die here? Are there going to be lasers here? What's the booby trap? Booby trap.
That's it. They're substituting actual excitement for badly edited excitement. Because if we were just to watch that as a normal shot, it would be the most boring shit in the world. But sometimes I just want to see these monsters, though, as well.
Oh, yeah.
You could not get a clear look at any of these fucking things.
Because the CGI is not...
It's awful. That dragon thing looked like something out of... Like, you know, it looks like one of those... It looks like Dragonheart 5. The trailer for Dragonheart 5 that I have watched and did make me laugh because...
Do not drag Dragonheart into this mess.
You know, like Dungeons and Dragons
with
fucking...
with the
Jeremy
red dragons,
Irons
the
and
white
stuff.
dragons. Yes, I have seen that.
The dragons in that looked better than this weird zombie dragon. And that was made like 15 years ago for $0.
And it drives me crazy because the scariest thing about these were the people, not them, like, were they zombies or they were just like the crazy rage people?
Yeah, they're zombies, but they're like 28 Days Later zombies. Yeah. They're Dawn of the Dead remake
they're
zombies.
Fast and they're scary.
Fast and intense, and yeah, they fuck shit up. And I don't like. I've somehow seen. I was thinking about it last night.
I reckon I've seen all of them.
I don't think I think I've missed one because I'm pretty sure I haven't seen the one in the
ice.
Ice. There's one in ice.
There's like in one. They're underground and then they come up and they're like under a frozen lake. No, this is like number 5 or 4. Because it brought in a few more characters. I
haven't seen 4. So I've seen the last 10 minutes of 4, though, because there's a very funny video from... are
they fighting in snow?
The Red Letter Media guys. No, they're in like some office thing.
Okay, then 5 must be the snow one.
I've seen 5.
Okay, then 3. There is one. There is one where they...
5's like a video game where they go through like, oh, we're now in this level.
Yes.
And we're now
And
in this level.
at the very end of that, they're in the snow.
Okay, cool. I've seen that. I don't recall.
That brought in Leon from the video game and...
wow, you know too much about Resident Evil.
And, what is her name? Her name is Ava? Ada Wong.
Ada Long.
Ada Wong.
Wong.
Yes. I only know that character because I dressed up as her for a video game party once.
Hey, that's, you got to do what you got to do.
So I follow.
You look up a video game character and you go, yeah, that'll do.
So I recognised them when they came in. So I've seen all of them. I don't know how. This is the curse of Foxtel.
It is the curse of Foxtel because that's where I watched it. I was looking through and went, should we just watch this? And I was like, yes, that's what we're going to watch tonight.
I've seen so many more bad movies than good movies because of Foxtel.
I firmly agree with that statement. And just going back, there's a very funny video on YouTube from the Red Letter Media guys, the guys that do like Best of the Worst and all that kind of stuff, which is just them sitting on a couch watching the last 10 minutes of Resident Evil 4,
I have to watch
laughing their asses off because it is just so ridiculous. And when you take a second and realize just how ridiculous the finale to that film is, like it's just out of control. Anyway, and he returns, that guy with the glasses.
Oh, he's in all of them.
He wasn't in the first couple, surely.
I think he was.
Was he?
Maybe not in the very first one.
I don't care at all about this franchise.
He looks CGI'd.
Like, just in real life.
Yeah.
Because his hair is so bad.
And his face is so flat.
And, like, he's wearing sunglasses from,
he's
1997.
He's dressed like the Matrix.
He is. He's like, that's what it is. It's like one of those guys that was still dressing like the Matrix in, like, 2008 when it's like, come on.
It's like...
Guys.
No, I'm not going to say that reference because that's silly.
The guy from Grandma's Boy? Is that what you're about to say?
No, I was going to say the guy that dresses up as Neo in A Cinderella Story for the school dance. It's like that.
The comedy is true. The reference is hilarious. Yes, Hilary Duff's masterpiece, A Cinderella Story.
No,
is it Hilary Duff?
Yeah, it's Hilary Duff and Chad Michael Murray.
I love Chad Michael Murray.
And waiting for him to change is like waiting for rain in this drought.
What?
It's a quote from the movie. It's fine.
Of course it is. Oh god.
And my headphones are gone again. It's fine.
No.
Wait, I can hear it's good. Good.
Yeah. Anyway, so look, it's balls. If this is if you're a completist and you just wanted to see how this story ends, I can understand you as someone wanting to watch this film.
But you really don't have to.
It doesn't matter. And this is one of the funny things about these films is they actually have no plot. Like, the plot to that movie is over. Like, I can explain it in 2 sentences. And there are no characters. There are simply people that inhabit the screen and say things. And then it ends.
It drives me crazy.
And something happens. Like, it's so weird. Like,
because they always, in maybe the first 3, they would always get maybe 1 or 2 characters that were interesting, and they wouldn't kill them off, but then maybe they couldn't afford to bring them back. So they would just do silly things to get rid of them.
Wentworth Miller in one of these?
And he was an interesting character, but they obviously couldn't afford to get him back. So
He's
they
too
just
busy being like an Oscar-nominated screenwriter or some shit.
Oh, fair enough. Do what you got to do.
He's written a bunch of stuff that people love. Yeah, so look, anyway.
Moving on.
If anyone would like to know what happens in Resident Evil so you don't have to watch it, email me and I'll happily spoil that film for anybody who cares.
Okay, the good one.
The good one, and I use the term good slightly loosely because I think it's good but also pretty flawed, and that's the Neon Demon.
Oh,
this is have
heard about it, haven't seen it.
No, and I don't know if you'll cope with this one.
It's a little. I have read the synopsis. It's a little bit too horror-ish for me.
Well, look, it's only really a horror in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So this is a Nicholas Winding Refn film who has quickly climbed the ranks to be one of my favorite directors. And look, I understand the criticisms of him as a director. I think he just makes films that appeal directly to me. I don't love style over substance. I love style that is substance.
Yeah.
And he is 100% fits into that category. Every single shot that he chooses, as beautiful as it is to look at, has a purpose, has a meaning, has a subtextual drive to it. And so I can watch his films and I'm just hypnotized by them. And I am making my own decisions about characters based on what he's using in the frame, what colors he's using. I'm mentally building my own picture because he doesn't really give you much. And I actually like that as a film-going experience. I think that's really kind of cool. I know a lot of people didn't like Only God Forgives. I really like that movie. Ryan Gosling's follow-up to Drive with
Eva Mendes?
No, Eva Mendes is not in that film.
I have no idea.
And then, of course, it was Drive. And then I went back and watched a few of his older films. I haven't seen the Pusher series, which is what he was kind of initially famous for, which I do really want to watch. But I've seen the Bronson and Valhalla Rising. And I really am digging what he does. It's a really strange movie. It's set in the modeling industry. Elle Fanning plays a 16-year-old girl who, for reasons really that aren't really gone into, she no longer has her parents. And she has moved here to become a model. She is kind of... Everyone looks at her as like she's the greatest model that ever lived. Lots of people kind of talk about... It's one of those industries where a lot of people talk about someone having like X Factor and stuff. Are you all right?
Yeah, no, you keep talking. I've got nothing to add to this. I haven't seen anything on it.
The occasional... might be acceptable. Yeah, and so like they're all looking at her like she's the greatest model of all time, which is kind of cool because we see Elle Fanning and we kind of, I mean, she's
gorgeous,
stunningly gorgeous, but they build this kind of mythology around how beautiful she is, and we're kind of like kept away from that a little bit, which is kind of cool. I like that a lot. She makes friends with like Gina Malone, who's a makeup agent, and a couple of her other like model cronies. And just as we go along, things get increasingly unsettled. Keanu Reeves pops up as a really creepy hotel manager.
Love Sneaky Keanu.
Sneaky Keanu in this, and he's really effective in the very short amount of screen time he has.
It's popped up on a lot of top 10 lists, this movie. That's how I've heard about it. I would not have heard about it except that on other podcasts that I listen to, it has been mentioned a number of times.
Sure. And I can see why it is. I think I fall right in the middle of a category that doesn't exist in this. It's one of those films that I think generally you love it or you'd hate it, but for some reason I found it just very good. I don't think I loved it as much as Only God Forgives, which for some reason I actually loved, and I know everyone else hates it, and I can't explain it. And I don't think I liked it as much as Drive, but I very much liked it. I think it doesn't quite 100% commit to its bit. I think it saves it a bit too late.
Yep.
And when it does happen, it's amazing and it's fantastic, and it's the movie that I kind of wanted a bit more of. I think it's the movie I wanted it to be from a little bit earlier.
The horror aspect.
Not even just the horror aspect.
But the pushing over the edge aspect.
The way that it is very unsettling generally from the beginning, but
in a normalized way?
Yeah, it's almost in a way like am I putting my own knowledge of this being a bit of a fucking weird movie onto it without it actually being there. Like there's a moment, probably there are weird moments that pop up, but really until about probably it goes for about just under 2 hours, probably around the hour 10 mark, there is something that happens that definitively
changes the movie's direction,
puts you in. Yeah, but I'm trying to. I don't want to give away spoilers, but there's two moments. There's one moment that definitively changes its direction.
Yep.
And there's one moment earlier than that really starts to set it on that trajectory.
Sure.
And that's the moment that I'm like, oh, if that had been a little bit earlier, I think I would have been on board for this movie a little bit more. I don't want the movie to be shorter. I want more of that kind of bonkers nature. But otherwise, yeah, it's fucking great. And if you like, this guy frames a shot like nothing else. It is beautiful. It's kind of cliche to say that, like, things like, oh, every frame is just beautiful. I could print it out and hang it on my wall. But legitimately, you can almost do that with Winning Refn stuff. It's just, he knows exactly where he wants to put everything in the frame. And there are shots that just linger that you just stare at and you examine every single part of the screen. And it's got symmetry a lot in it as well, and I'm fucking crazy about symmetry. I love it. His use of color is just perfect, and he kind of just goes places that I'm kind of interested in. His characters are never anything less than 3-dimensional. Also, the ending is fucking out of control. Yeah, like the last minute or so is just bonkers. You got to say it.
Yeah, I've been very quiet because I know this really isn't the movie for me, but I have heard about it and I've heard it on top 10 lists. So if you're interested in something that's kind of different and out there, I think this is something
it's definitely
worth
different
watching.
and out there. It's just on Netflix too, and I'm really interested for people that are going to be like, Oh, Elle Fanning, Neon Demon. Oh, modeling, drama about modeling.
Yep.
Thriller. Oh, it probably says a thriller set in the world of high glamour modeling or something.
It would be under like the suspense thriller tab, not the horror tab.
No, for sure. And I'd be really interested if people like turn it on because I reckon 45 minutes in they'd be like, I am fucking over this shit, and then they miss the best, the just the most ridiculous, out of control ending that you'll ever see. Great.
Awesome.
Let's move on to our feature presentation.
Yay.
Yay.
And now for our feature presentation.
All right, well, here we are. As part of our Christmas spectacular, the not quite Christmas movies, Festivus for the rest of us, whatever you want to call it, spectacular. Did I just fuck that up again? I totally ruined it. We're doing, The Long Kiss Goodnight, 1996, because we wanted to do a Shane Black film, and I feel like this is almost like the black sheep of the Shane Black films, if you will.
So I had, being not the same sort of movie aficionado level that you and Nick are, I had to have a look through Shane Black's movies, and I was just like, I love that one. I love that one. I love that one. Especially going through his list, Iron Man 3 and The Nice Guys. The Nice Guys, which you recommended to me, I watched recently.
Guys is amazing.
It is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen. Everyone should watch The Nice Guys.
Absolutely.
And it also listed that he's going to direct the next Predator movie.
He is.
And if there's a franchise that I am absolutely in love with, that would be Aliens and Predators.
And did you notice he was in the first Predator film?
Yes, Hawkins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets the great line, after when Jesse Ventura says, I ain't got time to bleed, and he looks around him, he's like, okay.
Oh, it's such a great movie.
I love it. Is it okay? I feel like I'm messing it up, but whatever. His acknowledgement of that tough guy line as being like the ramblings of someone who's clearly in a panic attack and is running off adrenaline is very funny.
Oh man, it's so good. And I mean, Lethal Weapon 1 and 2, which I also love, and Last Action Hero, which I love, but not as much as the rest.
No.
I do also. I have a special place in my heart for Last Action Hero, but I don't enjoy the rewatch as much as I think I'll enjoy these other movies.
It was Last Action Hero, not Last Action Hero. What are we talking about?
Shane Black. Did he write it, produce it, something? Last Boy Scout.
Boy Scout.
But they listed Last Action Hero too.
Did he write that as well?
I don't know. Let me check the phone.
Really? I know that was directed by John McTiernan, I think, of Die Hard fame. I could be making that up as well. But when you were just talking then, I was thinking of Last Boy Scout. Was that what we were talking about, or were you talking about Last Action Hero?
I was talking about Last Action Hero.
Yeah, right.
What is he has written such films as, this is Wikipedia. We all know Wikipedia is like the intelligence of the internet.
I'm going to IMDb.
Has written such films as Lethal Weapon and its sequel, The Monster Squad, The Last Boy Scout, Last Action Hero, and The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Good old Shane Black. Love it.
And what else in his doing?
Yeah, okay. Last Action Hero wrote the screenplay. Good on him. I fucking love Last Action Hero.
Yes.
Okay, so when you said you don't enjoy the rewatch as much, I thought you were talking about The Last Boy Scout, because that is a film that when I watched as a kid, this was like, that is the best movie of all time, because it was everyone swore all the time, and Bruce Willis was like smoking and like was a deadbeat and was shooting bad guys.
It has been a long time since I've seen that movie.
It's still a lot of fun, and it still sits very comfortably alongside, your Lethal Weapon and your Lethal Weapon 2, as far as like, I'd say it's probably not as good as either of those films, but it's still, it holds a place. That opening scene of Last Boy Scout where the guy, the quarterback or whoever pulls the gun on the other guy in the football game is incredibly effective and really quite great. Also wrote The Monster Squad, which if anyone hasn't seen The Monster Squad,
I haven't seen it. It's been recommended to me by you, by very many podcasts, by
100% recommended. It's so much fun. So much fun.
So I was going to say, this was a story I was going to say before, but I got rudely interrupted.
Oh, I do apologise.
So way back when my family got our first DVD player, it came with 5 DVDs in the box. Yes. And one of those was The Long Kiss Goodnight. So we also got Wag the Dog, The Wedding Singer, Good Will Hunting, and for the life of me, I can't remember what the other one was. I think it was some sort of romance. But yeah, so the DVD that I watched today was the one that we got probably 20 years ago. 20 years ago.
Probably around that time. Yeah, you're probably right.
So,
wow.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's the same DVD that I watched because now that I am currently essentially homeless, and all my possessions are in boxes at another house. My more recent DVD copy of Long Kiss Goodnight was packed away, so I did happen to find the Kiely family DVD, and it is one of the.
It has such amazing special features, such as biographies.
Biographies. Yeah, exactly.
That's how old this DVD is.
Scene selections as a special feature. I'm like, no, that's just normal life. And even the cover just looks like an old school cover. I love it.
Yeah.
It looks like balls though on a big television. I'll tell you that much.
Yes.
DVDs. I don't know why we got in such a huff about them because. Like, I understand the jump from quality to VHS to DVD would have been remarkable, but they're bad to watch now. It's really,
I know,
it's
and
pretty
it really
hard.
drives me crazy because I have that many DVDs.
Yeah, I know, me too.
So many. I've spent thousands of dollars buying DVDs.
Do you know what you need to do? DVDs, you need to get a smaller television.
Yes.
That's like your DVD television. Yeah, and it's it doesn't have to be like tiny, but anything above like a 32-inch is getting pretty tough to watch a DVD on.
Especially when you're talking about like old school BBC DVDs, which I have as well.
Yeah.
Just
I would imagine.
Oh, it's not good. Anyway,
you've got quite a relationship with this film then, because when you only have 5 DVDs, you tend to watch them pretty often. So I would imagine you've seen this movie quite a lot.
I did watch it quite a lot originally, and then I had a long break, but I always looked back on it fondly. And it actually popped up on TV in the last month or so. I was just like flicking through the channels, and I was just
it's been a television staple for years on free to air Friday night movies on Channel 9.
I talk about these movies with you, and then all of a sudden they pop up on free to air TV.
Yeah.
Same with Daylight. Best slow movie ever.
No one agrees with you on that, by the way.
And then this popped up as well, and then you guys said you were doing a podcast, and I was like, yeah, I love that movie.
And here you are.
And here I am.
Look, I feel like it's one of those movies that's just always been on my list as like one of the great action movies of the 90s.
Yeah.
And I feel like it kind of gets forgotten about a lot. Like, it's like if you look at lists of great action films from the 90s, I don't think it would be on many people's lists.
No.
And I kind of sit there and go, oh, but hang on, Long Kiss Goodnight. And people are like, oh, yeah. What?
Have you seen it?
Yeah, exactly. But you have seen it, right? Like, it is.
When you're comparing it to movies, action movies in the 90s, like, I mean, you don't compare it to. You have to keep it within its class of action movies.
Well, I think it's the way it's structured. It is so unique. It's Shane Black. The Shane Black structure of a film is. It's kind of its own thing. It's the action movie where everyone is quippy, but not to the point of like breaking their character.
Yes.
It's the action movie where we believe kind of over the top plot revelations, even though our brain tells us that it should be ridiculous. We believe it.
Yeah.
So it's not like your gritty, real kind of,
I'm trying to think of a gritty real action movie.
I'm trying to think of a gritty real action movie from the 90s because they weren't really a thing in the 90s. It took a little bit longer for that to happen. But, for instance, like let's put it up against in 1996, we were probably a couple of years separated from something like Under Siege.
Yeah.
So Under Siege, I would say, is also kind of up there as one of the great action movies of the 90s. Yeah. But for me, they're such different beasts completely.
And I mean, you got Geena Davis. You got your action hero in this movie is a woman, which is probably one of the that makes it completely unique. For I guess compared against most of the action movies that you were getting in the 90s, and that people should remember it for that, as well as the fact that it was Geena Davis and she was a big star then. Well, this was kind of the end of her, hashtag bankability. But
she should have been the biggest thing in the world, Geena Davis.
Yes.
I don't understand. I almost feel like she got kind of shat on, because she did have a run. Like, don't get me wrong, she had a run where she was quite successful, but
they said this.
She should be Sigourney Weaver levels of action movie legend.
Yes, and from everything that I was reading, people think it was a combination of Cutthroat Island, which I also secretly love.
I've never actually seen Cutthroat Island.
Oh my god,
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day. And look, you know what? It's one of the people would be shouting at you like, Citizen Kane, watch Citizen Kane. And I'm like, nah, watch Cutthroat Island. It's quality movie right there.
Look, I love pirates. Like,
I love it.
I think I will enjoy a pirate romp with Geena Davis. And is it Matthew
great.
Modine?
Yes, Matthew
Who thinks
Modine.
Matthew Modine can lead a film?
Against Geena Davis.
That's no good. He's got such an odd face, Matthew
he
Modine.
does. But I loved it. It was
It's melted
fantastic.
in the sun.
So they said that because that was one of the biggest it was in the Guinness World Record for a while, I think, of one of the biggest box office failures ever.
Yeah. Look, it's still considered. And look, it 100% hurt this film. Yeah.
And then
Waterworld actually made money, believe it or not.
which is the
The reputation is because it was such a ridiculously, everyone thought it was such a self-indulgent project, and it did cost quite a lot. That because it wasn't like Titanic levels of amazing, people still consider it a failure. But it did fine.
I can watch Waterworld. I can watch Cutthroat Island, and I love watching Long Kiss Goodnight. But that's what they say. So Cutthroat Island came out, and that was a flop. And then they apparently, because it was the same director, which was her partner at the time,
Rennie Harlan, the great Rennie Harlan. He's not great at all, but he had a stint of some really great films.
Yeah, and then they brought out Long Kiss Goodnight as well, and everyone just thought, well, the rumor is, and all these things that I'm reading is that because Cutthroat Island was so badly received, not by Roger Ebert, I think he gave it 3 stars.
Cutthroat Island?
Yeah.
Ebert's fucking bonkers sometimes.
So he was just like, you know what he said? I watch this movie because that's my job.
Yeah.
In his review. And he said, and if you want to go see a pirate movie, it's totally fine.
I will generally love any movie Ebert loved, but I don't always hate every movie he hates. So if he loved a movie, I'm like, I'll probably have a good time
I
watching
think
it.
that's one of the best reviews I've ever heard. It's just like, I saw this movie because it was my job. But it's just like, but it was fine. If you want a pirate movie, it's a great pirate. Well, it's a pirate movie.
Yeah.
And you don't get those very often.
No,
but they
you don't.
said, so apparently Cutthroat Island killed the pirate movie until
Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah.
I don't get that. I love Cutthroat Island. But yeah, so they said that, so that kind of put the marketing down on this. People didn't want to see it, and I think they missed out because I love it.
Yeah.
And it's just, probably my only issue with the movie on a whole is you could almost cut out the entire last half an hour.
You potentially could, but I think you're robbing the audience of
some amazing action.
Maybe the greatest half an hour of action movie. Like, it could be my favourite finale to an action film.
So it's sort of like it's my attention was starting to drift, not because I wasn't interested in the movie, it's just because I was sitting for, it's 2 hours, so that's a long time. And it's sort of like
a touch long.
So cut out all the stuff at the start with her and her new family. Or like at least cut 10 minutes from the start and 10 minutes from the end, or 10 minutes from the middle.
You could almost get rid of the Brian Cox stuff.
Yes.
I do like that train station scene.
Yes.
But that can be the one that probably can go. And the bits in the car with Brian Cox. And if the first thing they did on the trip was to go to
her where she thought her fiance was,
we'd probably have the same movie.
Yeah. And I think that would be great. I think there's just like, and it was just that, and it wasn't that I wasn't
really
interested.
Either way.
I was just like, if I would change anything, if someone said to me, change this and make it a better movie, that's the only thing I could think of, apart from maybe trying to make real CGI fire. But we know that's a problem that we still have.
CGI fire is pretty tough.
It's just, you know what, use real fire.
I would remove some of the questionable things that Samuel L. Jackson says about women.
I know.
I would remove those because it doesn't do anything. Even in 96, I'm trying to think of what it was trying to... Was it making us not like him, or was it making him funny? And I think in either circumstance, it's not a good idea.
I think they were just trying to show how she would react to that as Samantha, and how she'd react to that as Charlie.
Yeah. Look, and
that's the only thing I can think of, because like I said, and because his character changes so much, I guess towards the end, like that was like a facade that completely melted away by the end of the movie, and it was sort of like they only put it in there just to show the difference of reactions that you would get from a Samantha versus a Charlie.
Sure. But it's just kind of, it's one of those things you have to just whistle past, which I don't enjoy. I don't enjoy having to whistle past things anymore. Not that I ever did, but when it's like, because I like Mitch a lot.
He's funny.
He's funny.
I can't remember the last time I watched a movie that I've seen before where I literally laughed out loud because of dialogue. Like, just you know,
You haven't been watching comedies for
No,
a
well, I
while.
don't really
Isn't
watch-
that the point of comedies?
but I watch if I rewatch comedies. I mean, there's some where it's just gold regardless.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Step
yeah.
Brothers, like the things that are funny in Step Brothers are going to be funny forever, and I
Yeah.
will always laugh out loud.
Sure.
But when it's just sort of witty dialogue, and I have seen this movie many times, and I was sitting on the couch laughing, and it was fantastic. It's funny.
Well, and you know what? He not to take anything away from Geena Davis's character at all, because I think she's fucking incredible in this
She's
film.
so buff.
But there are some emotional moments with Mitch that really get me as well.
Yes.
And I'm like, God, why am I like this guy basically like
He was a scumbag.
He was a scumbag. He does the worst thing ever when the chick jogs past him, and it's just like, that is the awful. And yet at the end of this movie, I'm like, I'm Team Mitch all the way. I'm like,
my God,
he's the
definitely.
best.
He's the best clothes in this movie.
Oh my God,
His
I
clothes
want
are so good.
I want
Tartan
that
pants.
outfit he wears.
Tartan
It's so
pants with a
great.
sweater vest and a fuzzy green cap. And
I
it's
could
just
do it without the cap. I reckon I could pull that
oh,
off.
it's fantastic.
I love it. I would love it. Sick.
It was like, and also there are so many Christmas sweaters in this movie.
Yeah.
I love it.
Amazing
There's
Christmas sweaters.
There's sweaters and there's a sweater vest, and it's just Christmas sweaters
So
everywhere.
the Christmas setting this at Christmas, I think, is actually really interesting, because it never draws attention to it, but I think it's really effective at kind of subconsciously making you want Samantha to have a happy family life.
Yeah, you want her when Charlie comes all the way through. You kind of want Samantha to beat her way back out.
Yeah, because
Because it's Christmas, because
yeah.
it's snowing, and I was watching the sort of opening scene of this, and I was like, I really wish they could set a movie like this in Christmas, but in Australia.
Oh my God, it would just be, it wouldn't
would
work
just-
at all.
It would just mess with people's minds, and I would really just be like, I'm not talking. There's probably Australian movies that are set at Christmas,
yeah,
yeah.
but no, but that
and
suck.
that's just for
They
us.
don't feel right.
But you need if
But
they did.
they don't feel right to me either. Like, I don't want to see a movie without snow and without
Yes.
Christmas
and
parades
sweater vests
and sweater vests and people drinking eggnog next to fires. Like, that is Christmas. As much as that's not how we celebrate Christmas.
There's no like
That
fake
is-
snow sprayed on windows. It's real snow.
Oh my God, that fake fucking snow. I hate that shit. I'm like, what are you trying to do? It's like 40 degrees out here.
40 degrees in Celsius, not in
Yeah,
Fahrenheit.
exactly, in Celsius. Have you ever seen Bush Christmas?
I have not.
That is the only Australian Christmas movie I think I've ever seen. Because wasn't there like, has there been many?
I'm guarantee you there's
Crackers?
got
Is
to
that,
be some.
is that a Christmas movie?
There's got to be some bad Australian movies that I've not seen that are set at Christmas.
Yeah. I just remember Bush Christmas. There's a fucking bushfire that burns like someone's house down. I'm like, this isn't fun. This isn't Christmas.
No, and that's probably what would happen here.
This is like, exactly.
It's like we can't celebrate Christmas. There are bushfires.
There are bushfires, or we're in danger of like tropical storms that are like that hail on our fucking and
like
rip
last
through our
weekend.
window.
Apocalypse Now.
Exactly. We will rebuild.
Yeah. So Geena Davis does such a great crazy face in this movie.
Geena Davis does so many great things in this film.
I love when she's being water tortured and she's strapped to that wheel and she just looks like a machine. She's Sarah Connor, like she's just
She is
ripped to the
She
shit.
should have been. Sure, Cutthroat Island didn't work. That's fine. It was unsuccessful. It amazes me that people didn't look at this film and go, "Oh my God, Geena Davis, you're an action star.
She's
You are an
so
action
good."
hero. We need to put you in more action movies because she's fucking incredible." And I'm so glad that this movie 100% let her be the action hero.
Yes, because Mitch was useless in terms of that.
And I loved it. And my
fantastic.
favorite line is when he says, "I'll be waiting for you to come rescue me."
Yes.
I'm just like, because it's 100% acknowledgement. She's the badass.
Yep.
She's the muscle. She's the one that's gonna fuck
And
everybody up.
Every time he tries to help, she's like, just get the fuck
Yeah,
out of the way.
just go away. And like, yeah.
And it's just, and you know what? I mean, at the end of that scene, he should be dead anyway. He gets blown out of a window on a chair.
He dies like 4 times in this movie, Mitch.
Oh
Poor
my
guy.
God,
He has a
yes.
real stint in this film. Can you believe that the next film, because obviously I think Long Kiss Goodnight had already been filmed when Cutthroat Island came out,
Yeah,
or
so
they were filming it.
They filmed, I think one of them, they bought the screenplay, but they had either just released Cutthroat Island or something. Something was happening and people were a bit nervous.
But do you know the next movie she was in?
Oh God, don't tell me. I'm going to be sad.
Yeah, well, it's not a terrible movie, but it's like nobody did what I said they all should do, because her next film was 3 years later, and it was Stuart Little.
No.
You've just seen
No.
a film where the birth of like a legitimate female action hero, and the next film she's in is Stuart Little. Isn't it just
drives
ridiculous?
me crazy. Like there's no, and it's almost like it's the same. It's the same with all of them. It's that Linda Hamilton had Terminator 2, and then
she should have been doing more. Linda Hamilton, I think, is a little bit less appealing because it was a very
harsh role.
Yeah, it was a very strong, jagged kind of role. She didn't have a lot of. She was very strong and resilient, but she's not likable.
But it's almost like if you look at the character that she played in Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, and then looked at Sam and Charlie, it's almost the same thing. It's just in two separate movies.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's a good point. I don't think movie executives look at Sarah Connor and go,
we can put her in another.
Let's put her in some different movies, because she was rough and she was, she didn't treat her son fantastically all the time. She was kind of hard to.
But Geena Davis should have been like Sylvester Stallone or Arnie or.
Geena Davis is charming as shit in this film,
so good.
and especially when she's Charlie, because all of a sudden it becomes like this kind of badass charm where you're like, holy shit, you are the coolest fucking person in the room too.
Super witty and just and putting guns together and just being awesome.
Being like legitimately awesome in the same way that we celebrate male action heroes.
Yes.
Like it's like the way we celebrate like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and we watch, Commando, and we watch that scene where he straps every gun in existence onto his body, and we cheer.
Yes.
We should be cheering for Geena Davis. I cheer when she gets on those fucking skates, man.
I know. And then she shoots up the car, and then Mitch is like, couldn't you just shoot them in the shoulder? And she looks at him like, are you fucking kidding me? And at the very also I love at the very end, also the bad guy in this, I don't know his name, but
Craig Burko
with a million lives.
He also has
a hole into the river, and then
like, that was pretty lucky, man, that he didn't hit anything on the way down.
Jagged edges, and he falls perfectly into the almost man-shaped hole into the river.
Exactly. I feel like there's another movie that used the exact same special effect, where someone falls into water like that, and it just kind of goes, loop.
There's no splash or anything.
No, he just kind of disappears. It's really bad CGI, but
and look, the stuff that they use special effects for in this movie, and even some of the practical stuff as well, you can spot a mile away. But it
fairly
doesn't
certain
take
it's a
anything
dude
away.
in a wig that jumps out of the train station window as Geena Davis.
No, but then do you notice that when they film the falling scene and she's shooting the ice, that she is so obviously on a harness being lowered down, and they've sped it up. Which is fine.
Oh, that's how you got to do it. I don't expect these people to actually jump out the window, but I almost think that guy had a beard. Like, it was in the second I was like, you have stubble. They were just like, get Jimmy to do it. Just chuck on a red wig. You'll be fine. We got to go. We don't have time for this shit.
And you know what? Like, when the bad guy comes to her house when she's still Sam and starts shooting the place up, and he shoots the wall and it explodes.
Oh my! But
and then she throws her kid out the window.
Yeah.
And it's
but
so
that's
good.
what I was on board, man.
Yeah.
I forgot.
It didn't take me out. I was enjoying it so much that I was just like, that's some shit CGI.
That's
actually,
some shit CGI.
No, the
but
worst
I like that
one.
They kind of, it made it like her hair went off. Like, I think they did a really good job of the surrounding effects of the shotgun blast. The blast itself was just really shittily
and how
done.
everything just gets fucked up. But there is one, if you have the chance to rewatch just maybe the last 10 minutes, I think it is, when Mitch drives the car out of the truck.
Yeah.
And the police guy who's obviously in on it, who's like, oh, I'm sorry, man, we can't help you. We can't come rescue you and your child. He drives the car out and he has to jump out of the way. Rewatch that scene. It is the funniest CGI Superman layout. I just looked up and I saw that bit and I was just like,
Yeah.
It was
and
so
that's,
funny.
The rear projection stuff, I don't even know if it's rear projection. It's probably just
It could have just been a dummy.
It's probably, and look, there's a lot of like shot compositing where it's literally like we've cut out someone out of this one and put it in front of this thing.
But it was fine.
But that's kind of, to me, I like seeing that still, like now, because it makes me kind of nostalgic for old times.
Because they knew that it wasn't great. It's almost like they knew that wasn't going to look great and it wasn't going to hold up. So they don't do it often.
Yeah,
They're
I
not
prefer
relying
that
on
to the weird, like the weird kind of, you're clearly not standing where we think you're standing from, like Justice League and stuff like that, where it was just like, oh no, you're not on location, you are in a green room right now. And I find that more kind of off-putting than just embracing the fact that
What a
there's not an
yeah.
explosion directly behind me.
What a comparison. Like, thinking about the action in this movie, the chemistry between the two leads, the, like, dynamicness of the scenes and how things flowed. And that was 21 years ago this movie was released. They got a movie that we've both seen in the last couple of weeks, and
It was
the lack of chemistry and the lack of dynamics.
funny because
and the lack of action.
it did come into my mind when I was watching this, because I was trying to explain to Nick the fact that it's barely a movie.
Yes.
And I
Oh,
couldn't put
God.
into words exactly why, but what came to me when I was watching this is what I look for in a movie is I want my screenplay to have a purpose.
Yes.
Right? So, yes, there can be superfluous lines, and not every line has to be, like, poignant
Or witty.
or poetry or
Sometimes you just need to say the
establish your character.
words.
Sometimes you just have to say the words. But what I love about Shane Black is that more often than not, when you think he's just saying the words, it ends up being relevant later.
Yep.
And that's one of those things that is just the hallmark of an exceptionally good screenwriter. That was actually kind of common back then. Guys like Shane Black, like, yeah, he's great, but okay versions of Shane Black are all over the place in the 90s
You
and
gotta
early
think
2000s.
about all of the buddy cop-esque movies.
But even just like a normal grown-up thriller. Like, I'm just trying to think of something like
High Crimes or Along Came a Spider.
Here we
or
go.
Those ones.
They're not
Morgan Freeman.
they're not fantastic. I'll say Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger.
I've seen both of those as well.
Yeah. Or
Some of
Blown
All Fears.
Away. Some of All Fears. Here we go.
Hunt for Red October.
Yeah, look, Hunt for
I've
Red
got
fucking...
I've got so many of these movies on double DVD special.
Yeah, great. So these, look, they're not all masterpieces,
No.
but they tend to structure their screenplay and their directional choices around something mattering, something having meaning, something that is like, this means something.
Yes.
Nothing in Justice League meant anything. And I started counting, like, just the payoffs in this.
It was a movie of, it's not even one-liners. They weren't even one-liners.
No, they're not- they're not one-liners.
It was a movie of individual sentences and no conversations.
Yes.
Just like
Yeah, I feel you. So, like, some of my favorite payoffs.
Ben Affleck
that-
was in so many of those movies that we just mentioned as well.
Wasn't he? Changing Lanes. That's a weird movie. That's got Samuel L. Jackson in it as well. There you go. But, like, for instance, like, so, you hear things like Brian Cox. There's that little funny quip about how, I keep a gun in my crotch, and it's like, you'd be surprised how many blah 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 blah. And that's just a character building moment where it's just like, oh no, he's a spy. He's been in the game forever.
But it also didn't feel like you. And even though you saw the payoff, it didn't feel like they put that in there.
It didn't feel like they were setting up for a payoff. So then when
Sorry,
she's
I just ruined
underwater,
your story.
you did. But then yes, when she's underwater and she goes into his pants, perhaps someone who maybe not 100% listening might have even missed that.
Yes, and they're
been
like, what is she
doing? And then gets the gun out and goes, oh, that's right, he said about the thing before. There's the bit about...
You know what? I actually reckon that was me when I first watched this when I was quite a bit younger, like, and just being like, how did she know there was a gun there? Because it was such a part of the conversation.
It was such
so
a natural part of the conversation. There's the bit where he's torturing that guy and he says, I don't know. He goes, you don't know. I'm very good at telling when people are... I can always tell when someone's telling the truth. And then he does it again in the train station.
Yep.
And it's really effective there as well, because that's how he figures out that he knows that she's actually lost her memory.
Yeah.
And then the great payoff at the end when she asks him, am I telling the truth? And you see that he knows that she is. And it's like, amazing. Fucking, like, I wrote down a whole bunch of them because they're just so effective, and they're the sign of a screenwriter that gives a fuck.
Yes.
Who isn't just there to get us from A to B to C to the finale.
And you know what? It's like he's he's not writing B first. He writes A first, and then B happens.
No, he might know what B wants to be.
Yes.
But he
doesn't
makes sure
write
that A makes sense before he...
And I think that's the thing. Like, so many of these movies now, it's sort of like they know they want B to happen. They want this special scene to happen, or this conversation to end this way, or this setup to happen. But they write it from B backwards rather than from A forwards, and don't consider how long it should actually take for you to get from one to the other, because they're just too impatient to get to their amazing witty one line, or their awesome action scene, or their funny payoff.
This actually did, as much as this movie I think is super efficient like, especially in the first half an hour or so.
Oh, it does go back and if you
It just takes off.
Yeah.
And you've got to be on it. I like her voiceover because I feel like it just gives us just enough information without being too much over the top. But you need to be prepared. It's one of those movies you've got to sit down.
I actually wrote that down. Like, if you're not paying attention or if you haven't seen this movie before, if you look away for a second and you miss one of the cutaway scenes, you're lost.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, 100%.
The president is in one of the cutaway scenes.
Actually, this is the bit that I do not like.
Like that last scene at the end when she's like, "Hello, Mr. President."
It's literally meanwhile at the White House. It's like it's so out of step with everything else in this film. And I think those two bits, if you want to know what I would, that's my, how do I make this film better? Remove the White House moments.
Because you could just give, and you know what? You could also cut out Samuel L. Jackson's home life, because then you wouldn't need him to have that payoff. You could just get him the money. Like, he could just be a PI who's pretty good, who just needs money.
And I also don't like that when he is on Larry King at the end, it's kind of like it looks back at the mum and
the kid, and they're like, "Oh, he's amazing anyway."
Well, that's not even their face. I think we're meant to be like, "Haha, see, he is good, and you're an idiot." And I'm like, "Hang on, no, like he's still a deadbeat dad just because he now has some money." And help save the world.
And I know his story arc essentially is that, like, he wanted to do the right thing one time, but he could have had that without having the family.
Well, we don't need to. It doesn't need to be at the expense of the family.
Yeah.
Like, so we could have.
If they cut all that out, they could have cut the president stuff out, and it really could have just been they got the money and they split it, and he's doing fine and she's doing fine.
And that's it. And maybe
that's fine. So you
maybe
still had the fun.
he just drops a line about, I'm going to go see my kid and I'm going to bring him something.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, nice. That's lovely.
And then because he doesn't talk about his kid at any other point. He talks about other things in his past, but not his kid. So it's kind of just like, it's almost like those bits were inserted in later. But at the same time, if you miss that scene with the president, that cutaway, like when he appears later on, you're like, what?
Who president? When did the president get in this? And then the guy, well, because and it does get a little like big for its britches, I guess, because now we're talking like legit like espionage, where I think it was maybe a bit better when it was a bit kind of black ops. Like, instead of the president knowing, it was the guy who knew a guy who knew a guy who knew a guy who ran a black ops department.
He didn't know they were doing this to try and get money, and like, and in the end, it was the guy who actually runs the spies. It was like, shit, thanks, you saved us. Like, rather than it being
literally the president of the United States.
But
which is a bit
that's
tacky.
nitpicking.
It is nitpicky. It just it feels very out of place when they suddenly cut to the White House.
President.
And I'm like, what are we doing? Imagine if you did look away for a second and turn back, and you'd be reaching for the remote like you accidentally stepped on it or something. And it's like, it's still the same movie? Okay, sure.
So I was going to say, the guy that popped up in this movie who I love seeing pop up in movies is David Morse.
Yes. It was exactly who I was going to say.
Pops up in The Green Mile. Pops up.
He's one of the best things about The Green Mile. God, he's such a great character.
Oh, Brutus.
You've read The Green Mile?
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect casting.
Fantastic.
Perfect casting.
And what else has he been in recently that I've seen? I can only think of The Green Mile.
He rips out his teeth in World War Z.
That's right. Oh, I love him in that. Yes.
He's so fucking... I was like, is that David Morse? Is that David Morse ripping out his teeth with his hands?
In Concussion, he's I think he's the guy at the start who kicks it all off because he's gone crazy because of the concussions he got, and he doesn't look like him at all, and he's like
he is a lot older
eating
now,
metal and filing his teeth down and doing all sorts of crazy things because of the brain damage. So he just he pops up, and he popped up in this movie. Actually, there was only... Okay, if we're going to nitpick, one of the things, and it's about his character as well, when they arrive at the farm and she sees him for the first time and he sees her, and she's supposed to have been dead for 8 years.
His reaction is strange.
And his reaction is so... He's like, Charlie, it's so good to see you.
All I can think... And I thought the same thing, but in my head I was like, maybe that is effective because it's like... Because, spoiler alert for fucking Long Kiss Goodnight, he turns out to be one of her marks. So he's
hesitating because he doesn't know.
He's hesitating because he's trying to assess the situation. So he gets he doesn't want to overplay it in case he gives himself away. So watching it, knowing that, you can see that, in how he reacts, which is one of the, that's what makes this movie rewatchable, is these characters pop up in two senses, I guess. So you can watch it from the perspective of like, I don't know what's going to happen. Is this her fiance? And then you can watch it from the... No, he's a target and he's feeling out the situation. But also when you watch it that way, it's a little bit like it's been 8 years. Yeah, exactly. If he's meant to be putting on a show, he's not putting on the best show, is he? He's not really. Do you know what? A
lot of people die in this movie.
Like
just innocent bystanders.
Yeah, a lot
to
of
the
people
point
get
where
shot.
I'm just like,
it is an action movie.
But like, I mean. There's no wanted signs for Samuel L. Jackson and Geena Davis popping up around the place.
No, true. Are they on the news at any one point?
No.
I believe they're... No,
Like
there's none of those
there's
random...
residual stuff, like they've found the farmhouse and 7 people are dead, and
That's right.
but that's it.
No bad sketches of the suspects that we're looking for. It's...
Oh, and sorry, one of the other funniest lines I think in this movie is right at the end when the chemical truck bomb has just been taken over by Geena Davis, and I think the guy driving the truck, he radios not Brian Cox's character, the other...
Craig Burko, yeah.
That guy. And he's like, she's taken over the truck. I'm really hurt. I think I'm dying. And he's like, continue dying.
Continue dying. He's a great villain. I really
fantastic.
like Craig Burko. He's one of those actors that had like a little kind of go at being famous in the 90s, and it didn't work out, and so he toddled off to obscurity again, which is kind of sad because I like him a lot in this. Have you ever seen The 13th Floor?
No.
So that was a weird kind of like trying to kind of be Dark City and Matrix around the same time. And so
maybe I have seen
I think it probably came...
I've seen the Dark City and the Matrix, so there's a good chance.
Yeah, and look, it was all around that time. It came out, 1999. So it's very...
Because I've definitely seen him in other things. But
he's nowhere near... I don't think he's ever kind of turned out to be what maybe people thought he was maybe going to turn out to be. Because he was, and there was The Suburbans. That was that kind of movie that was trying to be That Thing You Do, but was not a good version of it.
I reckon that's what I've seen him in. And it just made me think of David Morse in Disturbia.
Oh, yeah.
There's a scary guy in that. Oh, he was so good. He's great. I love seeing him in things. He should do more things.
He should do more things.
Geena Davis should do more things.
Geena Davis, where are you, Geena Davis?
I can't,
you can't be an action star anymore, but it should be nearly time.
Hang on. If the expendable guys can be action stars at this day and age, she can definitely be one
fair.
still.
Yeah, I'll pay that.
It's just like, it's exactly what you said. It was sort of like, people were like, oh, that's interesting, but we don't like it. It was like, this needed to happen now rather than in the 90s when people were a little bit more like, give Black Widow a movie and we want female action heroes and superheroes. And it was just the wrong time.
It was the wrong time.
Which sucks because it was so good.
And I also like that this it was, having said that it was, it was a bad time because we kind of forgive, or we allow Samuel L. Jackson to be a scumbag in those first bits. It was also a better time because they fuck her up, but we don't it's never looked upon as being like, see, we're equal. It's just
like physical, like she's bleeding.
It's just part of the plot.
Yeah.
Like the fight scene with her in the kitchen with the one-eyed dude.
Yeah.
Is just legit brutal.
It's fantastic.
But it doesn't draw attention to it in any way like it's trying to overcompensate or underplay it.
No,
it's just what it is.
It's a full-on physical fight, and she's screaming her head off, and she smacks in the head with a glass dish of a pie.
I feel like I feel like it'd be difficult to make that scene today without there being...
You need it to be like
social commentary on either it being too brutal or not brutal enough, and there would be two schools of thought of people saying it's not as equal as what it would be if it was a male character in it, and then from the other side people saying, look how great it is because we've also got it just happened in the 90s and no one cared. And I do miss a bit of that kind of time where we could have a female action hero. Same thing with Sarah Connor in Terminator 2. She just kind of kicks ass.
Yep.
And holds her own.
Yep.
But there aren't 40,000 internet think pieces about how she did that.
And
it was just a time when we just accepted what was given to us.
And it drives me crazy because that's the kind of scene where it doesn't need a think piece because this guy is not going easy on her. He's trying to kill her. And he knocks her partner off and he tries to kill the kid and
the partner tries and gets fucking a shotgun butt to the face and that's the end of him.
She's about to get stabbed and the only thing she grabs, they're filming it in a way that's sort of that's what you would do. You just grab the shit that's around.
It's just,
but she opens the fridge door. That was amazing.
It's good thinking, man. She escapes death through chance so many times in this film, and I love it.
Yeah.
Because it's not like one of those movies where she's always just the most efficient. It's actually just luck sometimes, and I love that.
It's great because you can see, and I mean, kudos to her for her being able to pull this off, but you can see that she's acting in a way that's, I'm Samantha, I'm this woman who's a teacher and I don't know anything about this, but her body instinctually wants to fight. But because her mind isn't there, her body can't do it the way she wants to, and she ends up being really lucky and sort of escaping these situations in very interesting ways that could just be accidental, but also...
How does he die, the one-eyed guy in the end?
Oh, she breaks his neck.
Oh, that's right.
So she smashes him in the face with a pie. So, and which doesn't make any sense until you consider the fact that that's probably a really thick glass plate that she's smashed over his face. And then she straight punches him in the back of the neck.
That's right.
And then she
breaks
breaks
his head and does the weird kind of thing where she just grabs him by the forehead and just flicks his head up so it breaks his neck.
And it's just like, but in the
chefs do that.
Chefs do that. In the other scene in the train station when the guy is about to pull the gun out, and it's like, I love that scene because you can see that's the first time they're kind of letting her, Charlie's starting to come out and her body's just instinctually reacting to, there's a gun. She knows there's a gun there. She reacts really fast because she's an assassin, and that's just what happens. But 2 seconds later, she's screaming because she's like, they're shooting us, we're going to die. Because she's not there yet. She's not Charlie yet.
It's
she's
all
still
instinctual
Sam.
at that point.
That's so good.
Yeah, it's really well. I did write a thing about this. I like that the waking up to Charlie. Is that your stomach?
Yes.
Sound like a thunderstorm. So the waking up to Charlie, although, like, yes, there are these moments where she's getting memories back here and there. There is one distinctive moment that clicks her back into Charlie, and that's when she's being drowned.
Water tortured,
the water torture. I like that happens so suddenly, but then Samantha creeping back in is very gradual. There's no one weird moment where she, like, looks at her kid and she cries, and then it's like, Samantha's back. It happens really gradually. Like, she suddenly she still calls her the kid for a little while.
Yep.
But then
even after she gets kidnapped, it's really just like at the hassle rather than something she wants to do.
We've just got to go we got to look after this thing. I'm not going to let a kid die.
And then we're going to get the money.
And then it's like it gradually sneaks in, and there's a little bit like hey, we should get a dog.
Yes, in the freezer when they're about to die.
And I love how this movie thinks ahead so much. Like, we see her look at the gasoline and the baby, and we maybe don't put 2 and 2 together because we're kind of like, what? It's because we don't know.
I was watching it, I was like, she's going to put gasoline in the baby's head?
That's what she going to do? But then you think about it, it's like, it's one of those fucking dolls that lets you pee and shit. Yeah, so she's filled up the bit and it's perfect. Like, all those kind of things that you just don't think about, but they also don't ever do the cheat kind of like the quick flash to the moment happening so that we can see the process.
You don't need to see her filling the baby with gasoline.
Exactly.
You just need to know that the gasoline was there, the baby said she had 30 seconds, and she's a trained assassin. Yeah. So she has to be able to get out of situations like that.
Yeah. I
remember that bit. Let's get a dog.
Yeah. Should we get a dog? It's so great.
It's such a great... And you know what as well? The payoff as well with... I forget the kid's name, but the kid coming back, running back to her mum and doing the same thing that she said to her when she fell on the ice. And she's like, life is pain. Yeah. Get up. You're not going to die. Like, and I was just like, yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. Like, that's one of the ones that kind of gets you in the feels a little bit, I think. And then she does the fucking amazing thing where she slides up on the Christmas lights and oozes him.
That guy turned into a burning skeleton very quickly.
Yeah. Good on him.
But I was going to say that, I've lost train of thought, but like they didn't just, because when you see her say run away, the truck's going to blow up, don't look back, and obviously the kid's going to come back, and it could have just been like a tearful kid that's like, come with me mummy, no, it's a kid that's just like, no, like,
yeah. And it proves that, like, I think what's kind of nice about it is that the kid never wavers. Like, the kid is always, you're my mum. Like, there's never a weird... And like this movie...
Even though your hair is blonde and you're shooting people...
exactly. This movie could have really easily given that thing where it's like, you're not my mum. And she would have to kind of win back her trust.
And I have no time for that in action movies.
I had no time for that at all.
Like, you know me and kids in action movies. I'm like, the less of them, the better.
Shane Black, man. There's always a kid in a Shane Black action movie.
But it's like, you know what? This is the way to do it. Like, at the start, at the end, and make the kid pretty cool.
Yeah, the kid's pretty cool. It's what's her name from The Nanny, isn't it?
No, she didn't do much. This girl, she did ER and Days of Our Lives, I think.
She looks really familiar. She looks like
I think she just had a face.
She must have had one of those faces.
Madeline Zima, I think is who you're thinking of.
Yeah, I thought she was Madeline Zima.
No. How did I think of that name? I think it's because The Nanny has been on TV and I've seen the credits.
Well done. Well done indeed.
Oh, that's bonkers.
Oh, yeah, she's not even...
She just did a few bits and pieces.
Oh, excuse me. It's Yvonne Zima.
Oh, damn it.
It is the sister of Madeline.
No way.
Yes. So no wonder I thought she looked like her.
It's all right. We're both right.
We are both right. Oh, she's doing like weird horror movies now. All right.
As long as they're good.
I don't think that's the case.
And I also love how beat up they both are at the end of this.
Yeah, look, Samuel L. Jackson should be dead.
He should be so dead.
But don't get me wrong, it's a legitimately cheering out loud moment where it cuts back to the car and he sits up because it's such a great moment because it flashes to the passenger side where the guy's dead and you're kind of like, oh, where are we? And then he just sits up into frame. So much like about Rennie Harlan. He can direct the shit out of an action movie.
Yes.
Like, and not just the action sequences. There are some bits in this film that are just really legitimately cleverly composed shots.
All of the stuff with them in the car, I loved.
Which car?
Them driving, Samuel L. Jackson and Geena Davis.
Oh, yeah.
Just driving.
That story he tells is one of the great moments in this film as well. And look, we are drawing a lot of attention to the screenwriting because the screenplay is excellent. But the way he tells the story, and you are led to believe that he's been framed, and then he's like, "Oh no, I stole them." Definitely, I love that. But for Rennie Harlan, a guy that kind of
I love the
gets a hard time for being pretty shithouse. And look, he's directed some shit movies. Maybe he's I don't know.
Music. The scene that I'm thinking of that I love the way it was shot was the music and the makeover. So Geena Davis going from Samantha to Charlie to the Santana song.
Is it Santana?
Santana, sorry.
No, that's okay.
What is it?
I can't. So someone told me about
that one.
her.
Yeah. And then
Nice.
it switches to whatever 70s song they had for Samuel L. Jackson when he wakes up and he pulls on the tartan pants. And
yeah.
it might have been
the
a
soundtrack's excellent in this.
So good.
Some really good stuff. I really like Die Hard 2.
Yes.
And I know it's not everyone's favourite, but
I enjoy it. I enjoy
think,
all of them except 5.
Like, I actually like them in order of release, so I put 2 pretty close to 1 in enjoyment factor.
Yep.
And then he had Cliffhanger, which is really quite good.
Yep.
Like, I don't care for Ford Fairlane. Yeah, and then Cutthroat Island, whatever.
Is
Long
David
Kiss
Morse?
Goodnight.
No, it's not. Is David Morse in Cliffhanger? No, it's someone who looks kind of like him.
Like, that's a good little stint. Nightmare on Elm Street 4. I mean, that's apparently an okay one. Like, yeah, he's had some shit. Like, The Covenant is hilariously bad.
But also endlessly watchable.
Endlessly watchable. You are 100% correct. I could watch that movie almost at any point.
It's the perfect double feature, The Craft and The Covenant.
It is, actually. That is a lot of witching and...
attractive people.
So much. Like, so that is like, yeah, so hunky. That is the only time I'll use that word. That is hunky movie. That Legend of Hercules movie, though, is garbage.
And which one's that? Is that The Rock or the...
No, that was The Rock. So, like, The Rock's one is directed by fucking now notorious scumbag, but always suspected notorious scumbag, Brett Ratner.
Yep.
And this one, the other Hercules, was Rennie Harlan. How did you get these 2 directors to both direct a Hercules film? Like, not one of them has a great pedigree. But yeah, Rennie Harlan, I feel like, gets a bit of a fucking hard time, and I feel bad for him because I think he's done some very effective movies in his day.
The fact that this movie is 21 years old and it's more enjoyable than a movie that we saw last week that cost over $300 million to make.
Yes.
And was so overhyped.
Yeah. But even if we compare it to a recent kind of like just action.
The only one I compare it to is The Nice Guys, and that's because it's Shane Black as well.
But let's not, because...
And you can't.
I think Nice Guys is a better movie.
Oh, yeah, well, but it's different as well.
Nice Guys, when Shane Black directs himself, he's obviously very attuned to the comedy. The comedy in this, I don't think always works. I wouldn't call this an action comedy as much as I call The Nice Guys an action comedy. Whereas I think there is legitimate comedy in this screenplay.
Yes.
I think it's just not... it's not given the same attention.
No, because the stakes are higher. The stakes are serious, not higher, I guess.
But I think if Shane Black directed this, I think it would be legitimately funnier because he would know how to play a lot more of those lines.
I can't think of any sort of buddy cop movie recently that's more action than action comedy. Because the only other one I can think of is like maybe 21 Jump Street, but that's comedy.
That's legitimately comedy. But...
Like,
I love
can
those
you
movies.
think
I just got both of those on Blu-ray. I specifically bought them on Blu-ray because it has more special features, and I just want to spend time in that world. I just want to watch all the special features, all the gag reels, the alternate takes of them just fucking around, trying different things.
The explosion part when they're in the car chase and everything's almost an explosion, and then the chicken truck explodes.
Oh, man. I don't think I've ever laughed harder than when he runs his head through the symbol, gets up, and fuck you, Miles Davis. And then walks out of the classroom.
But yeah, I can't think of any other buddy cop movies recently except for The Nice Guys.
Well, the problem is because we don't make action movies
like this
anymore.
No.
Our action movies have to be like serious.
Super serious or hilarious.
Or legitimately comedies, like where
Because you think about Die Hard, the first Die Hard as well, that was sort of like this as well. It was an action movie. Die
Hard has quips in it. It has like one-liners and stuff.
Because Bruce Willis'
I'd say
character
Die Hard with a Vengeance probably is closer in tone, and not just because of Samuel L. Jackson. Like, I think...
But it's like that action movie doesn't get made anymore because they have to be witty and funny, or they have to be so serious that it's almost like an Oscar-nominated action movie sort of thing. It's not, you don't have this in-between action movie for the sake of watching shit getting blown up, and it doesn't have to be funny.
It's also it's also not trying to be like cool the way like a Quentin Tarantino action movie is either.
Yeah. That's exactly
right. It sits
like
really perfectly in its own little world that only the 90s really had.
And you know what? That's probably why people can't give those movies up, like Die Hard and Lethal Weapon and Long Kiss Goodnight and the early like the non-80s Sylvester Stallone Arnie movies.
Tango and Cash.
I have that on DVD.
On DVD, not on Blu-ray.
I did have a Blu-ray player. I have the Great Wall on Blu-ray.
On my recommendation.
I did, and I'm very, very happy that I bought that movie.
I do remember your text message when I was like, all you had to tell me was like, what was it? Choreographed drumming.
There's choreographed
flying drummers.
Oh, what was it? It was choreographed nunchuck drumming.
That's it, nunchuck drumming. I'm like, it's a good point.
It's like, guys,
that is how you sell that movie.
If you haven't seen The Great Wall, it's not at all what people said it was. It is so much better. It's so much better.
So much nunchucks.
But yeah, no, they don't make... Yeah, like I said, they don't make that action movie, and it drives me crazy. And the Quentin Tarantino movies are great ones to bring up, because it's sort of like your action movie has to mean more than what it used to be.
Yeah, but Quentin Tarantino is allowed to do that because he's really fucking good at that.
Yeah.
So but his aren't...
But you have to...
His don't mean more because he's pretentiously trying to make them mean more. He's mean more because he's just a very effective screenwriter in the same way I think Shane Black is. Shane Black specializes on, like, if you look at the list of the payoffs, they're not like existential world-changing thoughts. They're not like but they're meaningful to the story.
Yes.
Like even just little things like, you know, when it's like she needs the fire and
John
she has
Wick
the matches.
is probably the only one that I can think of recently that I would put into this same sort of category.
But there's no... John Wick is quirky in a way that you kind of look at the world and go, where are we? What is this weird world we're living in?
Yeah.
But, you wouldn't see anything like... Samuel L. Jackson's not getting blown out through a window
in a chair,
screaming while fire chases him.
That's the only one I can think of.
No, but this is what I mean. Like, I just don't think we will find anything like that. And if there was a movie like this, I'd be pretty fucking excited to watch it again.
That makes me upset because these are the movies, like, when I talk about being a movie lover, it's these movies, like Lethal Weapons, Die Hards, Long Kiss Goodnight, movies like Daylight with Sylvester Stallone, just these Speed, these great action movies that I can put on and either be completely absorbed by or just relax to.
Yeah. True Lies is probably pretty close in tone to this.
Yep.
So yeah, because you look at our action comedies now, and they're far more self-aware. So it's like your Hot Fuzz, your Tropic Thunder,
or the other guys. With Mark Wahlberg and Will
Other
Ferrell.
Guys, Pineapple Express, even Kingsman to a certain degree. They're like meta.
Yes.
In their awareness of how funny and action orientated they can be. Whereas this...
It's more serious.
It's more serious, but the laughs are still in there. And
because life can be funny.
Yeah.
Like I guess it's more...
It's actually really hard to find a recent film that shares this tone. So
it's more realistic. Even though it's a movie about an assassin with amnesia who teams up with a slightly misogynistic, stuck in the 70s black man. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't
I
sound
would love to know
realistic
if anyone can find a movie made in the last 10 years that shares this tone. I would really love to know because I just don't feel like it exists.
And if it does exist, I need to see that.
Yeah.
I need to add it to my collection.
Send us an email, chuck it on our Facebook page, do something like that. But I think we should possibly wrap things up.
I know.
Is there anything you want to say before we finish up?
I'm going through my list really quickly, and the only thing that's jumping out to me is that at some point the bad guy gets a megaphone to tell everyone that we're still going to go through with the truck. It's all fine. It's just so random.
It's good. Well, it's efficient.
Like, he does, but you can't see him with a megaphone. But the volume of his voice is not. He's not talking through the earpieces. He's standing somewhere with a megaphone.
Do you reckon they just recorded the dialogue and while they were in like ADR, and he was like,
We need to tell everyone that it's okay that there's been an explosion and stuff.
There's just been an explosion, yet they're all still doing the thing. Should we mention it somehow? It's like, let's pretend he just picked up a megaphone and told them all. That's why we pay you the big bucks, Stevie.
Oh, it's so good. I love it. Everyone should watch
it. That's fine.
It's a Christmas movie.
While we're talking just funny random things, I don't think grenades work like that.
It was such a big explosion.
I was like,
it was like a fire tunnel.
It was like a fire tunnel. Like, I'm pretty sure that's not how grenades work.
That guy's shotgun, would that shotgun really blow a fireball?
It was pretty a perfect hole in the wall too.
But like with I mean, it might blow a hole in the wall, but it would have blown a fireball out as well.
And that's it.
Oh, it's so good.
And meanwhile, back at the White House for the finale. Well, that's probably... I think that's going to wrap it up. I will... Actually, the last thing I want to mention is, despite a lot of the lines in this film being really funny, I liked that there were some that were really... Poignant. And I think I really liked the one where we've been talking about the way that she tells Craig Burko that it's his daughter.
Yep.
Is he says, look at her eyes. And then... Samuel L. Jackson, is he even there for that moment?
Nope. So I don't know. It's just, it's meaningful, but it doesn't.
So it's so beautiful that when he looks at her and he says, you know, you got your mother's eyes. Don't let anyone tell you differently. And I thought that was just stunning.
And it's perfect for their relationship as well, which is just a beautiful, like, camaraderie friendship.
Yeah. But it also, like, you're totally right because it's such a beautiful... And I love that their kiss is so not romantic.
It's so platonic.
And I love it. Yeah, I love it.
It's platonic in the way, like, you know how everyone got angry at Nicole Kidman kissing Alexander Skarsgård at the Emmys or whatever when he won the award because they just filmed with each other for months and people are like, how dare she kiss someone that's not her husband? But anyway,
that shows how much I care about anything like that. I'm just like, whatever.
It's just that. It's just this sort of, it's just a beautiful show of affection. That's nothing more.
Yeah, and 100% just respect of what he's done for her.
Yeah.
But it kind of says a little bit about the secret female power of this film,
yes.
Which I'm not even sure it was a deliberate choice of Shane Black, but the way that it kind of says, you're not his son, you're her daughter.
Yes. And
I think sometimes that's a really powerful idea.
Because she's the hero.
Yeah, but not even, it's more than that.
Yeah.
Like, sure, like kids can be the sibling of both parents, but sometimes in this environment, her strength is going to come from her mum. And that's something that I don't think maybe comes up a lot, especially in an action film.
Oh, of course not.
And so it's kind of cool that it comes up, and I don't even know if it was 100% deliberate, but I think it paints the whole film that way.
Yeah, an action hero that's not just a woman, but also a mum.
A mum.
Like, it just makes it so much more accessible.
I like how she says, I think I might be like 35, and I just turned 35, and I'm like, there's no way we are the same age. Geena Davis in this film and me right now, there's no way.
Well, she was born in 1952.
I'm going to check right now.
And this was filmed in 1996.
Do you know when I look at people who are apparently 35 and they still look so ridiculously old?
It's not fair.
It's not fair. How is that possible? How can I be 35?
Is it 62 or 52? Maybe
so
she was born in
56.
56.
So in 96, she was 40.
She's amazing.
She is amazing. And without coming as a complete total creep, but the bit in the shower.
Yep.
If she's 40,
get fucked.
It's incredible. She puts...
You know what? Actually, I didn't even mind that shower scene because they filmed it the same way they would film it if it was a male action hero.
No, but it wasn't like they weren't showing it to be like, look how sexy she is.
Nope.
They were showing it to say, look how strong she is.
Yep.
Look how
this is Charlie now.
Yeah, this is Charlie. She is confident in herself. She does not give a fuck. And by the way, that's a real bicep. Like, look at that shit.
Fucking hell,
her thigh
arms
muscles
would
crush a man's head.
Yeah.
Like
Famke Jensen style.
Exactly. Die Another Day. No, is it Die Another Day? Goldeneye.
Goldeneye, yeah.
Yeah. And, it doesn't feel like cheap and kind of like,
nope.
Hey, checking out some Geena Davis. Like, it doesn't feel like that at all. It just feels like, holy shit, she could fuck shit up.
She's also wrapping this talk up very slowly. The fact that she is like anywhere between 35 to 40 and is kicking butt and looking amazing and not slowing down, and it's just sort of like action heroes. If you're going to start making these movies now, if you're going to start making these movies now with women, they don't have to be like, if your male action heroes are in their 30s and 40s, the women can be too.
Yeah,
because they can be the ones that you think of are Geena Davis, Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton, and Sigourney Weaver, and they were all in their 30s.
I think Sigourney Weaver was pretty young when she did the first Alien, but by the time, I'm not saying like 19 young. I think she was probably in her late 20s.
Yeah.
Mid to late 20s, but she was still she's still making them up to 1996 or something.
Exactly.
94, 90.
She looks like a grown up.
Yeah, she just looks like a grown up. You're totally right.
But
at the same time,
something about being a proper grown up. I can't.
No, and I understand. And it's like,
so hard to put
are we
into
gonna,
words.
are we ever gonna see like Famke Janssen again? Speaking of Famke Janssen, because like
as the X-Men went through, she was
perfect
really
as Jean Grey.
and
Like
she was like Jean Grey in X-Men: The Last Stand, which is not really anyone's favorite movie, but that was perfect.
Yeah.
And the only other one I just thought of another one, but you said Famke Janssen and I've lost track.
Sorry.
Oh, it was such a good one too.
Yeah, I've ruined it.
Ruined Christmas.
I did.
Yeah.
Well, maybe have you got any choice for who you'd like to see in an action film? Any of the current stint of like?
Oh, I just remembered Jessica Jones.
Kristen Ritter.
Kristen Ritter. She's not super young.
I think she'd be about. I'm going to throw it out there. I think she would be.
She could be anywhere from 25 to 35.
Well, okay.
It's incredibly hard.
Yeah, you're covering a lot of bases there.
You
like
got the phone.
Cop-out answer, that is.
You do the Googling. You've
She's
got the
35.
phone. Yeah. And it's just...
She's kicking butt.
It makes such a difference. It gives it so much more weight. So I love her. I love her as an action hero. And I also love Rachel Taylor in Jessica Jones as well. As another woman who has no supernatural powers but is just kicking butt anyway, because that's what she taught herself to do. So
I'd like to see Mila Kunis in an action role.
Oh yeah, because I've never seen her in an action role. That would be interesting. It's really hard to think of anyone because it's just we have all these action movies and not enough. Zoe Saldana can't do all of them. She's in Star Trek and she's in Guardians.
She's trying to do all of them.
She's trying to do all of them.
She's that Columbina as well.
So good. I loved Keira Knightley as Domino.
Oh God, that's a blast from the past.
But just
Tony Scott.
But like as a woman kicking butt, like she's someone like she's got the acting chops.
She does.
I feel like she could do it as well. I'm struggling to think because you get to that period of time where these women hit their mid-30s or even their early 30s and their careers end.
It's horseshit.
And I can't think of any, and it's making me really upset, except these women who are now popping up in Netflix and things like that, where they just have more exposure in TV series and things.
I'd like to see Laura Linney kicking some ass.
Laura Linney. I love Laura Linney. The other redhead, she's in Children of Men.
Julianne Moore. Fuck yeah.
She's amazing.
Julianne Moore, like, just carving it up would be great. Speaking of, Jessica Chastain...
Yes.
Was pretty good in that bad sequel to Snow White.
Yes. Oh, Emily Blunt. She's already doing it.
She's already doing it. She's amazing. She's amazing in Edge of Tomorrow.
And in Sicario, which I've just watched as well. Like it's just like that. These movies exist with them in it, but usually always in secondary roles. So are we talking for yonks and yonks?
We have been talking for a while. I think we might wrap it up there. If you haven't seen Long Kiss Goodnight because you heard it was maybe not that great and it's like, it's kind of it's kind of an unnecessary movie from the 90s, I say, fuck that and get it on. It's unavailable to watch on any kind of platform in Australia at the moment, which really sucks.
It's disgraceful.
I was like, well, at least I could rent it in HD. No, I can't rent it off anything in Australia. It's not on any on streamings. You can't like rent it from Google or Big Pond. So you got to go buy it. And I don't know if it's on Blu-ray.
You could probably order it from somewhere.
Order it online.
Amazon's just popped up now.
P.S. Amazon. I was like, well, I'm going to check out how cheap the DVDs are.
Not cheap.
Just go to JB Hi-Fi.
Not cheap.
It's
Australian prices, just on a different website.
Exactly. And until they kind of wake up and realize that essentially all the stores that you're trying to take customers away from are charging less than you.
There's a reason why JB has lasted this long.
Yeah, it's not that inconvenient to just enter a different website at the top of the screen and then keep shopping. I don't know about you. I'm not that fussed about efficiency that I can't afford the 3 seconds to enter a different website.
And I'm not that fussed about shipping costs that I don't worry about driving to JB and buying it, even if it is $3 more expensive.
No, the only times I use the delivery option is when
It's not available in store.
It's not available in store, but they do want to sell it to me. Well, I'm like, okay. Yeah, it's only available on DVD at the moment, but it's only, on the plus side of things, it's only $5.50.
That is money well spent.
That is a bargain. Get
Everyone
on
buy
it.
this movie and then write a protest about recording this on Blu-ray.
Exactly. And it has a making of featurette, which is more than probably that thing has.
No biographies.
No biographies anymore. No one cares about that shit because everyone has IMDb. This is before the days of IMDb where it was like, ooh.
1996. This is like before the internet.
Yeah, early days of the internet.
Before Wikipedia, at least.
For sure. All right,
Okay.
we're going to move on. We're going to cross some streams. So we're going to do our crossing the streams.
That was only Tyson because my voice is going.
Sure. What do you want to cross streams with, Nicole?
Okay, so I really only use Netflix because my remote control has a Netflix button, and
Well, that's convenient.
It's a lot easier than me trying to work out how to connect Stan or Amazon Prime. So
It's so easy.
I know, and my Blu-ray player doesn't. It has bits for Stan and for
Don't
Presto.
you have a
and
smart TV and a smart Blu-ray player?
yes, but I have a Netflix button. Anyway, I know he's shaking his head at me. It's fine. Netflix works for me right now.
Netflix is fine.
So I'm going to recommend, hopefully it's still on Netflix, but it's a 2016 movie directed by Gavin O'Connor called The Accountant, starring Ben Affleck, J.K. Simmons, Anna Kendrick, and John Bernthal. So four actors that I'm big fans of.
Sure.
This is probably the best thing I've seen Ben Affleck in recently.
Okay. It's a bit cool.
Well, I saw Justice League.
So it's the best of the last two
and I
things you've seen
just
him in.
tried to watch Live by Night.
Oh yeah, right. I heard that's garbage.
And I watched The Accountant, and it's fantastic. Ben Affleck plays a severely, I said autistic?
I think he's autistic.
So high-functioning form of autism. He has a brother, and his dad's in the military and all about teaching kids life skills in a very interesting way. And so he ends up being an accountant for the mafia, the mob, any sort of criminal, because he's very good at hiding his tracks. His high-functioning autism really lends itself well to working as an accountant and working through numbers. And he doesn't do well with people, but he meets Anna Kendrick at this job. I'm trying to speed through this, but it's.
But he can also shoot guns.
It is. Yes, he can also shoot guns. It's fascinating. It's an action movie. It's got the Punisher.
Yeah, love him.
I'm a really big fan of John. I don't know how to say his last name.
Yeah,
Bernthal.
right. Bernthal.
He's popping up all over the place, and I couldn't appreciate it more. And J.K. Simmons is always good.
Good
whenever
value.
I see him
Love
on
it at JK.
screen. And it's got John Lithgow as well.
Oh, John Lithgow.
Yeah, it's just
good cast.
completely unexpected. Really, really good. Really interesting. They say they're making a sequel, and I really, really want them to, because the characters, Ben Affleck's character and John Bernthal's character, are very fascinating, and I want to see more of them.
All right, nice.
Yeah.
I like it. The Accountant on Netflix.
You haven't seen it, you should watch it.
I will watch it. I've been trying to convince someone else to watch it with me, and she is always kind of lukewarm to the idea.
She'd love it.
I'm going to recommend also something on Netflix. I'm going to recommend The Revenant, which has just popped up on Netflix. It's a movie that I think was my favorite of that year. Yes, it was my favorite of that year. I liked it a lot, and I was disappointed it did not end up winning Best Picture at the Oscars. It won Best Director, which I thought was very well deserved, and I thought it would win Best Picture, and it was beaten in the end by Spotlight, but which is also a good film, but
not the same caliber of filmmaking.
Not in the same league, I don't think. The Revenant is a really incredible cinematic experience. I'm not sure if it would have the same effect anymore watching it in your home, but I haven't seen it since the cinema, and I'm really interested to try. It's one of those films, though, that since I saw it, it has lingered in my memory. There are some films that you just forget about, and you go on your life living, and you never think about again. I think about The Revenant a lot. It was
remarkable to watch.
It was. It really, really was. I love the score. I love the direction.
It was hard to watch.
It was not easy to watch at all. It was a
that doesn't
challenge.
mean it was bad. It was
but it was a challenging experience because it didn't make it easy for you. It didn't feed you everything. It didn't just feed. He ate some weird shit in this movie. It's it makes you work for it. It makes you kind of. You can come away from this movie and just be like, oh, well, that was just 2.5 hours of a man being tortured by the elements. Or you can come away from it and acknowledge a profound kind of
view of that environment, I guess.
Well, not
and
even
that
just
time.
that environment, but just the struggles of humanity. Like,
yes, what people had to go through to get from to just live there.
And it's what I think the best survivalist films. What the best thing that they can do is that they can make you come out of the cinema with a respect for the lengths we will go to survive.
Yes.
And I don't even mean that physically, I also mean that spiritually. I think that that's really important, is that a lot of these movies deal with the physical toll, not a lot of them deal with the psychological or the spiritual toll. And I think this did that very effectively. And so you come out and maybe, I knock on wood that I'm never going to need to experience a physical toll as hard as that, but it's hard to say spiritually and psychologically what we might go through in our lives. And I think this movie kind of tackled that in a really effective way. The performances are fucking incredible.
Tom Hardy's
so good, even though you can't understand what he's saying half the time.
Donald Gleeson?
Domhnall's good. The bear is great. A really excellent performance. I
feel so bad for it though. The bear cubs more so than the bear.
Oh,
I know that I couldn't shake
I think
that.
they were all CGI, so it's
I
fine.
know, it's fine.
They never existed.
Leonardo
and Leo got his long deserved Oscar for that, and that good on him, man. He a lot of people kind of said he just kind of grunted and moaned his way through, but I saw so much more in that performance than just a man grunting and moaning and faking pain.
If people think they can just grunt and moan through 3 hours of that sort of stuff, they're never tried to act before in their lives.
No, it's actually one of the hardest things in the world to do, is to act that you're in pain when
people
you're
know what
physically
pain
not.
looks like.
And it's very, very difficult to put yourself through that mental state for the fun of it, because that's essentially what we're doing. We're doing it to make money. It's a job. We're doing it to have a good time. It's not what you ever want to do, and it's very difficult to get yourself into that state, and it's very difficult to do it effectively. And it is
realistically as well.
Exactly, and it is the most effective version of that I've ever seen. I've never seen.
I just wanted him to get there because I couldn't take it anymore when I was watching him go through it. I just wanted him to either die or to make it somewhere where he could just recover, because it was non-stop, just being fucked over by the elements.
Yeah, man.
Which is what
and
would
by
happen.
Tom Hardy.
And by Tom Hardy.
So yeah, if that's your if that's your mood, if you want to spend 2.5 hours just basically getting shat on, get on The Revenant. But it's all worth it in the end. 100% worth it in the end, because somehow it ends up being one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's on Netflix as well. Nicole, we're going to wrap it up.
Yes.
Guess what? Next week, you're not going to be around for it, but guess what we're talking about?
What?
We're going to be talking about the classic Christmas film from the grand old year, the year of our Lord. What's the
work those fingers?
AD. Oh no, IMDb keeps crashing. The great year of many wonderful achievements. Perhaps none more than this film, 2003. That is Love Actually.
Oh,
we're doing it, people. We're doing it.
This is going to be great.
Yeah,
because I know Nick is a fan, and I know you're going to rip it to shreds.
And I am not. So it's going to be differing opinions, which we do love, for our second last episode of the year.
Fantastic.
Because we're going to be taking a break after, not next week, but the week after.
Because it's fucking Christmas.
Because it's Christmas, y'all. And we're going to celebrate Christmas
and then
Nick
New
Tuss
Year's
style. Yeah, and then we're going to do some New Year's thing. And then we've got some exciting news for next year. We're going to have some very exciting guests. I'm very excited for some of the guests we've lined up for next year. But until next week, Nicole, thanks for filling in.
No worries.
We love it here. And I hope you had a good time.
Talking about Geena. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you know what we forgot to do?
What?
Come back. So I'm going to have to do it because you've never done it. Well, you tried to do it once maybe, and I failed miserably. But there's lots of ways to get in touch with us. And I need to tell the people. how to find us. You can find us on Facebook.
Yep.
You can find us on Twitter.
I've never seen it, but I believe you.
You can find us on YouTube.
Yep.
And the best way to find us on any of those things is just to put Nick Tys and Videotape into the search, and you'll find us on any of those.
Just Google the hell out of it.
That's it. You can get us on iTunes. That's where you can rate, review, and subscribe. Please do all those things.
People with non-Apple phones, you can get it however you get it.
And do you know what? I'm done with the Apple app. The Apple podcast app can go suck it, because it's the worst thing ever since it's been updated. So I'm going to put a shout out for a different app that I found that I'm really enjoying. And that's called Overcast. Overcast is the podcast app I'm using at the moment. If you are feeling slightly frustrated by the Apple one, I can recommend Overcast. If you'd like to send us an email, it's nicktysonvideotape@gmail.com.
They need to receive more emails from people other than me.
I would like some more emails. We can't keep answering Nicole's questions every time we have a mailbag. We've asked some wonderful questions. Feel free to answer them. Answer on our Facebook or send us an email if there's any particular movie you want us to talk about, or because we're going to be putting together some little best-ofs and things like that, do you have a favourite moment of Nick Tyson Videotape in our first year that you would like to draw our attention to? If you'd like to mention, it might
whenever
make an
Nick laughs so hard, he has to walk away from the microphone.
which is quite obvious because you can hear the difference in sound quality. Yes, so we can leave it there. I think that's all the places you can get in touch with us, and we look forward to hearing from you. So, bye, Nick.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.